combine. We got all these people in the underwear Olympics. And here we are on a Thursday. Think of it. We're going to gripe, and we're going to gripe intelligently, Green Bean.
I love it. I love it. I love that you said underwear Olympics. I like this. This makes me feel good. I love the idea of the Olympics in underwear. It's so good. Are you having a good time so far? We're technically on day 2, but today was really the first day we got to see anything exciting. Are you having fun so far?
Well, it's interesting because you get to see people doing the same activity and you get to see which ones are good at it and which ones aren't. And you can see it with your own 2 eyes. You don't have to rely on, people interpreting this guy's good at this guy's good at that. Right. You can see here they are. Like I found most interesting probably fellow people in the chat will disagree with me, but I like the blocking sled.
Dude, I'm telling you, this is the stuff. This is when you know you are a football nerd. Like when you look at people like the blocking sled and you're like, oh, yeah, this is where it gets good. Like there's a bunch of guys hitting a sled or running around, like you said, in their shorts or just doing the same thing. They're running the gauntlet. They're catching the passes. They're running around cones and you're riveted. You're riveted.
And the coach is telling him, okay, listen, accelerate your feet. It was the coach this was the tight ends I was looking at. And he's telling him, listen, accelerate your feet through the block. It's going to give you pushback. When it gives you pushback, accelerate your feet. And he's drilling this into him, drilling it. And then they do it. And some of them do that perfectly and some do not. So they can't do it. So it's really that to me, Fred the Sled, Braden says in the chat. Yeah, exactly. Fred the Sled was the best because you saw Trey McBride separate himself right there. He was the one leading the pack in my view. Like he just said, this is not a problem for me. We are going to block the hell out of it. And then I said, put that guy on the end of our line. He's him and Mackay, him and George Fant, him and AVT pulling. And there goes Michael Carter down the sideline, touchdown. See you later. That's what I was thinking about.
Right? And you can't help but think it. I mean, dude, it really is important that we try in every way that we can to get the best possible guys at these positions. Like, look, we're looking at tight ends today because they ran their drills. So it's like if you have the opportunity to take a guy that, I mean, look, his production is unquestionable. And then you look at him in the underwear Olympics, like you said, going against other guys doing the exact same thing, and he looks different. You got to bring those guys on the team. They already love his attitude, all kinds of stuff. You got to get this guy. But Frankie, before we get any deeper, I want to say hello to our friends in the chat. Got a whole bunch of them in here tonight. Paul Klein started it up saying, what's up, Green Bean and Frankie? That's what Paul Klein wanted to know. He wanted to know what's up, Frankie. So he was asking us. New York Jets Tales is here. Braden is back. Spent some time with Braden last night. Gary B is here. Jake is here. Mr. Goodstein. We got Jeremy Cravat hanging out in the back, watching for your super chats. Ant Jets is here. FOC is back. Gary B, Gitmo Bob, Devin Macco. They're all here, man. This is going to be a good night. Robert Killian, Stephen Ingle. We got Iowan Jetsfan, who I spent time with last night as well. Bagachuk is in the house, Frankie. And Steve232, Nick Rousseau, Jeffrey Reed, J-Man, so many of you. And I'm grateful for all of you guys. We're going to have a good time. But before we allow ourselves to have too much fun, we're going to bring on our guest. And this guy, if you haven't had the opportunity to see this young man, I think you're in for a treat. Most of the content creators, everybody loves this guy. He blew my doors off. Maybe it had to be over almost 2 years ago. We interacted a little bit and he blew my doors off, and I'm really excited to have him on here for you guys tonight. Let's say hello to my buddy, Jude Jets. Here he comes.
What's up, How's it going, everybody?
Jude, how you doing tonight, man? You in a good mood, buddy?
Doing pretty good. In a good mood because I'm on the Green Bean channel. So everything's going good right now.
Nice. Yeah, well, look, man, I really am grateful that you were able to carve out the time and come on. Your channel's awesome. You've been doing it. It's at least a couple years now. How long have you been doing your Jude Jets channel?
Wow, I think I started doing primarily Jets content in like June 2020. So for about a year and a half now. So yeah, doing it for a good bit now.
Yeah, so you used to be called New York Jets News, if I remember
correctly,
correctly, right? I know
used
why
to be
you did
called.
that.
Well, it's like, yeah, because it was Jude Jets and everybody knew me as Jude Jets, and I had this New York Jets news because I wanted to be like more Jets concentrated. Because before I was like Jude Jets, I had kind of like a everything channel. I would make like vlogs and whatnot, and I kind of just wanted to steer away from that name. And then I realized most people knew me by Jude Jets and New York Jets news. It doesn't come up in the search bar at all. So, just
Right.
had to go with Jude Jets, and that's the way to do it. And it was a good move. Although I do now have my channel URL as New York Jets news, but I mean, hey, as long as I'm Jude Jets now, so I'm all good.
That's right. Well, I think it's a good move. Look, dude, like you said, everybody knows you as Jude Jets. You
Yeah.
are Jude Jets. Your channel should be Jude Jets. So I'm in favor of it, and I love it. I think you're coming close to maybe in the area of 1,000, maybe 700 subscribers, I think it was. So we got to get this guy some subs. All of his information is in the description of this video. His YouTube, his Twitter, and his Instagram. He's active on all three. Puts out tons of content. So if you haven't subbed to Jude Jets, please take a second and give him your love. Again, all the information's in the bottom. So Jude, Frankie and I were just talking about the combine a little bit. Now I'm going to be real honest with you guys. I only had a few minutes today to try to catch up as much as I could. So you guys are going to be ahead of me. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what you thought, Jude. Now we were just talking about Trey McBride. So Frankie said that he thinks he might be separating himself. Did you get an opportunity to check out the tight end drills? And do you agree?
Yes, I do agree with Frankie saying Trey McBride separated himself because the blocking, like whenever they put the sled on, everybody was kind of moving it, a couple yards here and there. Trey McBride just moved it so much more farther than everybody else. He just blew me away. I'm just like, this guy is definitely tight end number one. Now, kind of disappointing. Not disappointing he did that. It was awesome. Trey McBride blew himself away. But, hopefully he, falls to the Jets at 35 somehow because definitely his performance in the combine today just made himself probably a first round pick. Teams like Tennessee, Dallas, who might be able to select a tight end in the first round later in the draft, they might have some questions about Trey McBride. Today at the combine, he just definitely solidified that he is tight end number one. He was doing so good in the pass catching drills. He didn't run the 40-yard dashes. I was kind of disappointed in, but he did awesome, and everything that he did today definitely solidified himself as tight end number one. But Trey McBride, awesome day today.
Yeah, Frankie. Now, why wouldn't he run the 40? What do you think? What do you think is up there? What benefit, what positive could he have for not doing that drill?
Well, obviously he's getting, advice not to do that. And he was running he did all the other drills. He did the gauntlet, he did the fade, he did this thing and that thing. So his legs were okay. Not like he was hobbling around and injured. So obviously somebody gave him some advice and said, listen, speed is not your thing, Trey. And that's the truth. Speed is not Trey's thing. He pretty much has everything else. He's going to block. He's going to catch. He's going to, he's going to do all the things, but he's not exactly, Kyle Pitts. So, probably they said, listen, this isn't your specialty. Don't put a number. Let's not put a number out there. It can only hurt you. It can't help you. So don't run it. And I think that's what it was.
Yeah, see, I think Frankie's onto it, man. Like he said, these guys are getting advised. Like we heard Malik Willis is going to throw, but he's not going to run. So look, people can think whatever they want with why you didn't do it, but it's like that old saying, people can think it's better to let people think you're a jerk than open your mouth and prove them right. Right. Yeah. So it's like, hey, you can say, oh, well, he might have done this, he might have done that, but it's not on paper. So they can think what they want. And I think that he was probably smart to do it because, like Frankie said, that's not his thing. Speed isn't his thing, but the things that are his thing, he did very, very well. So, Jude, was there anybody else in the tight end group that stood out to you? What'd you think of maybe Dulich or Jelani Woods or Likely? Any of those guys?
Well, Dulich definitely stood out to me a lot today. I wasn't really high on Dulich a whole lot. Didn't really look too much in on him. He had that long touchdown against LSU in the very beginning of the season, so they kind of put him on my radar a bit, but I never really looked too much into Dulich. And then today he had a very solid combine, and then DJ Jeremiah, he was like the only tight end in his latest top 50 prospects. So I mean, that kind of got me looking more on Duelage, and he kind of proved himself that he might be chasing that tight end number 2 title today at the combine. But I mean, Woods from Virginia just blew me out today. I had no idea who he was, and then he just came out and balled today at the combine. Second fastest 40 time. He had the most bench press reps out of everyone at the combine today, and he's like 6'7", 265 pounds, I want to say. I mean, he's a beast, and he just was moving today. So Woods definitely put himself on my radar. And I mean, outside of Trey McBride, I feel like Woods was the second best on the sled. So I mean, definitely put myself on a radar guy we can maybe target later in the draft. I know I wouldn't really feel comfortable of having Woods maybe as a tight end too, maybe. Just depends on who we sign in free agency and if we could draft Trey McBride or not. And then I also was kind of impressed with the tight end from Maryland, Chick Okuwo. I want to say that's how you pronounce his name. He did have the fastest 40-yard dash time. That's really all he did, but he is more of a receiving tight end than a blocker. Not really interested in no one that really can't, block as well, because that's kind of what you need a tight end to do. But as a receiving tight end, he could be any guy that we could target late in the draft. But those are the tight ends that stood out the most to me today.
Yeah, Frankie, Virginia has made kind of a name for themselves recently with these big 6'7" tight ends. Last year they had Tony Poljan. He actually ended up not getting drafted. People thought that he was anywhere from a 4th to a 7th round pick. He ended up going undrafted to the Ravens, and then they went. I think he was. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was at Oklahoma, maybe Texas A&M. I forget. Jelani Woods, and he transferred over to UVA, 6'7". Do you think that guy's draftable? Do you think that maybe the Jets, if they double dipped, would you like to see Woods?
It'll be interesting because there's so many of these guys in this draft. Some of them are going to go undrafted, and we can sign them as UDFAs. We don't even have to spend a pick on them. And remember, we don't have a 6th round pick or a 7th round pick. We're done after round 5 unless we trade back. But I mean, there's another guy who's 6'7". Austin Allen is 6'7" and 5/8. Jelani Woods is 6'7" and 1/8. So Austin Allen is even taller, but Allen runs a 4.79 and Woods runs a 4.61. So, you look at these things and you compare, okay, here's a couple of 6'7" dudes. One can really move, the other one not as much, for their size, that is. And so it enables you to do these comparisons. But one of those guys is going to slip. I mean, and you have a lot of these guys: Bellinger, Ferguson, Hall, Hayward. This kid Hayward is interesting because he's Cam Hayward's brother. They're both Craig Ironhead Hayward's sons, I think, if I'm not mistaken. From back in the day. Yeah, Ironhead Hayward. And here's a kid who's interesting because he went from fullback to tight end. He's undersized for a tight end, but you could use him as a combo guy, tight end, a fullback kind of dude who could fulfill 2 roles at once, where you just situationally use him as a tight end. He's undersized, but he's not particularly fast, but he's sort of he's a pretty good blocker. He's going to get that leverage at 5'11", which is very small for a tight end. But you'd really want him as a fullback tight end combo guy, kind of like what we were trying to do with Trevon Wesco last year to very little success. So we tried it with Wesco, and it didn't work. You might want to get a guy like this who maybe could actually do that role. So very interesting.
It would be nice. Yeah, it would. It would really be nice to have a guy that legitimately can play tight end and play fullback. And those types of guys usually can be slide back on the line a little bit for you. And they can be a little bit more movable and versatile. So look, as much as I like Wesco, and I really, really do, the Jets, this new staff kind of inherited him, obviously, right? They tried to put him into their system. It didn't work. And we saw his impact really diminish. I mean, he had a couple of games with a little bit of impact, but overall he looked like he wasn't really long for the team. And if they can replace him with a guy like that, I wouldn't be against it. Now, Jude, what do you think about, look, we're all, excited about the tight ends. This is a pretty good crop in this draft class. It's known as being a stronger tight end class than maybe recently. What do you think about the guys that we have? We have a couple guys under contract, namely Ryan Griffin, and then we have my boy Kenny Yeboah. Both of those guys are under contract. Tyler Croft and Daniel Brown are not. What do you think about keeping one or two of those guys? Would you want to replace them? Where do you stand with the tight ends on our roster?
Now, first up, before I want to talk, Chris Olave ran a 4.26 in the 40-yard dash. Just noticed that. Just wanted to mention that. I love Chris Olave, but about the tight ends.
Wait. 4.26?
4.26.
Oh, holy macaroni!
He's going in the top 10 now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Chris Olave, he's so good. I've been raving about Chris Olave, tweeting that I think he's gonna have a good combine, and I mean, hey, I was kind of proven right. But anyway, about the tight ends. So I honestly just think we need a clean house at tight end. Only guy I think we should keep, Kenny Yeboah. It's the only guy I really like, Kenny Yeboah. Get rid of Ryan Griffin. Get rid of Trevon Wesco. Don't re-sign Tyler Crawford, Daniel Brown. I mean, we might re-sign Daniel Brown because Boyer likes him on special teams, but I mean, just clean the house for tight end. Go out, sign you Dalton Schultz, David Njoku, draft a Trey McBride, draft the dude from UCLA. Just get completely new tight ends. And I mean, getting a fullback tight end hybrid is also something the New York Jets should do. You know, having a fullback in the system is something very important. You know, Kyle Juszczyk balling with the 49ers, because, you know, they need a fullback in that system. And I really like Jeremiah Hall today from Oklahoma. He was someone we coached at the Senior Bowl, and maybe as an undrafted free agent pickup, I think he could be a pretty solid, you know, fullback for us. Don't know how much of a tight end he is, but he did primarily play fullback at Oklahoma, and we did coach him at the Senior Bowl. But I mean, really like Jeremiah Hall. He wasn't the fastest, but he ran really hard today. I was just watching him run on the TV, and I'm just like, this is a guy that's gonna like truck some people over. But personally, for the tight end position, I just think we need a clean house, just spend a lot of money, use a lot of premium assets to get ourselves some tight ends.
Frankie, how you feeling about our tight end? It sounded like you might be in agreement with Jude there. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know what came out of your mouth. It was something like, yeah. So maybe
we can get 3, 4, 5 million out of those contracts, and we need to. I mean, those guys proved that they can't handle our offense. I mean, you know, no matter what, I mean, they're okay, but we really need to upgrade that position. I don't want to see Zach Wilson running for his life. I don't want to, you know, he goes to do a handoff, a play action, he takes it back, and there's a big giant monster in his face. That means the tight end didn't block the person. Totally. It's like we need to block these people. So we need upgrades there. We can save some money and put it toward the cap, and then use it to either sign one of the free agents, which I think we should, even if it's a Mo Alley Cox, who's a sort of on the lower end, but you know, he's a guy who blocks at least. And then you get your pass catcher or two, or maybe even 3 out of this draft, if you include the UDFAs. And that's the way to go there. Everybody's talking about Chris Olave 4.26. I want to mention Velus Jones ran a 4.31. That's a guy you might be able to get later. You know, I think that's a surprise. I don't think anybody thought Velus Jones was going to run a 4.31.
Yeah,
he ran faster than Calvin Austin, who's the little guy. I mean,
now, yeah. So this is going to be interesting. It's really funny when guys like, and I made a video today for Jetnation, and it's not out yet, but I was talking about being careful how we evaluate these guys. Now, if you have a guy, he's on your radar, and maybe you have him 5th or 6th on your list at a position, and then he runs a real fast 40 and you move him up 2 spots to 3rd, okay, great. But be very careful about guys whose production didn't even warrant a look from you, and then they run a 4.3 in the combine, and now they're 2nd on your list. So you got to be careful. You know, there's a lot of fools here too.
I'm thinking like for a late round pick. So like I'm looking at a value pick. Is Velus Jones going to last to the 5th round? I don't know, maybe. But if you can get a guy like that with burner speed with a 5th round pick, you know, I'm not saying pick him with the 10th pick overall. So you might be.
That's what I thought you meant.
No, but he's close to Olave. So like Olave is going in the top of the 1st round. I think everybody thinks Olave now is going to be in the top, 15 picks or so. But if Velus Jones ran something close and you could get him in the 4th, 5th round, maybe that's a value play. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is. And that's really, it's funny too, because Olave, interestingly, he's been really quiet. There hasn't been a lot of hoopla around him. I mean, You've heard a little bit of buzz around everybody around him, but there's a couple, really trustworthy draft evaluation sites that have him in their top 3 of wide receivers, yet there's very little buzz about him by the fans and local media and all that. But I think Olave running a 4.26, man, that's putting him in that conversation. I loved him last year. I thought that if he came out last year, he was going to be a first-round pick. He chose to stay in school and everything, and now it's quiet. So I think he did really, really well. Now, I want to show you guys something. I'm going to go ahead and surprise you a little bit here. Let's take a look at Trey McBride's drill here. We're going to take a look. Let me see. I think Trey McBride's about to come up. We can watch a little bit. I got to be careful, as you know. This is the guy Jude mentioned from Maryland. This is
watch the hips. You want your hips in this drill to stay even, level, without moving to one side or the other. Watch the hips.
All right, here's Dulich.
Oh, this is a different drill.
So wait, I thought I had it. I thought I had it pegged. I thought I had it, Jude. What the hell's going on?
Everybody tunes into the Green Bean channel to watch tight end drills. We know this for sure.
That's right, man. This is the
tight end drill central.
Hey, man, I'm just glad the rest of you bastards caught up with me, man. I've been talking tight ends for 2 years. Everybody laughed at me. Now, finally, everybody caught up. I'm really happy. Welcome aboard, everyone. Welcome aboard. So there's Hayward right there. I think this is Isaiah Likely right here, as you can see. Let's see, where's McBride? Here he comes. Here's Trey McBride.
Okay. Smooth operator.
Smooth operator. See, now the pass was just a touch behind him. Here's what Frankie was talking about, everybody.
Boom. Look at that leverage. Goodness. Look at that leverage. Love it.
Love it.
He could have went on for days.
Yeah.
He could have pushed it like across the entire state of Indiana if he wanted to. He's just so strong. Trey McBride is so good.
Strong, and he's so precise. The thing I like about him is that he strikes me as a guy that is disciplined in every motion that he's taking part in. So, like what we hear, one of the knocks on our boy Mims is that he's a little sloppy. He's lazy in his routes, rounds off his cuts. Trey McBride doesn't do any of that. He is precise. If he's blocking, it's a technician. If it's a route, he's functioning as he's a technician. And then you look at his hands; they're so soft. We're going to watch a little bit more of that stuff later. I want to mention too that in the article that Dom C wrote for GreenBeanJetsfan.com, he wrote tight ends over a month ago. And I want to let everybody know Jelani Woods was on there about a mid to late round guy that Dom C loved. And now everybody's catching up. So if you haven't read Dom C's stuff, guys, I highly recommend it. Not only because it's on my website, but Dom C, he's slamming it, man. He is killing it. And I think you guys will enjoy it. Again, he talked about Jelani Woods a month or longer ago. So one more thing, I want to welcome back Rusty Spooner. He has not been with us for a while. I think he got in some sort of trouble. I don't know if it was with the law or whatever the hell happened to him, but he's back. And now not only has he come back, Frankie, he's come back as Return of the Jedi, Rusty Spooner. He's not just Rusty Spooner anymore. Now he's combining Star Wars and Jets, which goes into something that I'm going to tell you guys about. Jeremy Cravat from NFL Chaos with Jeremy is going to give away a Darth Vader doll before the end of this stream. Jeremy, why don't you come on real quick and show everybody? Are you ready with it? All right, guys, we're going to give this Darth Vader toy away before the end of the stream. Jeremy, what you got? You're on mute, friend. Mute. Jeremy. Yeah.
It's funny that you say doll. It's an action figure. It is from this is from 1993. That from it's for the release. A lot of people collect them. They're collectors' items or whatever. This is it comes with a lightsaber and a removable cape. It's never been taken out of the box. Brand new. So yeah, we'll be giving that away later. I got a lot more stuff like this. So I'm just getting started.
This is just a warm up for what Jeremy's cooking up for his channel. We're just letting you know if you want more Star Wars toys. He's also got a Raggedy Ann and Andy. and some other things, some Barbie dolls and some Peppa Pig. He's got all kinds of shit for you guys, and he's going to give it all away. But before the end of the stream, we're going to give that Darth Vader action figure away. And I thought it was good that Return of the Jedi, Rusty Spooner, inspired us to talk about Star Wars, and it's all kismet around here. It's all fitting together, Frankie. All right, Jeremy, we'll bring you back on in a little bit, buddy. Thank you. So there he goes, NFL Chaos with Jeremy. I want to get to this. Go on, Jude. What do you got? You want to say something? Go ahead.
So they had this dude from Baylor. I just completely forgot his name, but I think he just broke the record.
What record?
For the combine, for the 40-yard dash, 4.21.
What?
He just ran that. This dude from Baylor ran a 4.21.
Wait, who's with the wide receiver?
Wide receiver from Baylor.
Oh, Taekwon.
Yeah.
That's him. Just ran a 4.21.
Wow.
That's insane.
Christian Watson just ran a 4.28.
Christian Watson ran a 4.28.
Holy smokes!
Oh my
what is
goodness.
going on?
Christian Watson is very good too. We coached him at the Senior Bowl. I fell in love with Christian Watson at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah,
6'5". Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Christian Watson is becoming the darling. He's becoming the darling of a lot of Jets fans. So you're in that same pocket, huh, Jude? You like him?
Oh, I love Christian Watson. Give me a guy who can make contested catches and take the top off of the defense. Sign me up for a guy like that.
I'm in. So, look, we got a super chat from Mike Galizia. I want to thank you for that, Mike. We appreciate it. He says, I have a bone to pick with Frankie. All right. I didn't see this, Frankie. I should pre-read my super chat.
That's okay.
He killed my buzz when I made the suggestion about signing Robinson. A couple of days later, he makes a video doing just that. So, Frankie, what's he mean? You want to clarify a little bit here?
I don't know. I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to kill your buzz, buddy, but I don't remember what I said about Robinson. I might have been a little negative that we could possibly do it, and maybe he wouldn't want to come here, and that he's a top free agent, and we generally stay away from the top of markets. But at the same time, I don't know. Then I did do a video saying we can afford him. I mean, my video was like, hey, look, I found the money to afford him plus 6 other guys. That was the video.
Nice.
Not necessarily that Robinson wants to come here or that he likes Zach Wilson or that, Joe Douglas. I don't know if Joe Douglas is going to play in the top of that market. But my video was all about, well, if Joe Douglas wants to, he needs to cut these 8 guys. Some of them are called Ryan Griffin and Trevon Wesco and GVR and some of these people. And Sheldon Rankins. We got to get rid of him to get enough money, the way I looked at it, unfortunately, even though I like Rankins. And the point of the video was like, okay, if we cut these 8 guys, we now have enough money to get Robinson plus these 6 others, including Berrios and Bawden and Coleman and a bunch of other people that I wanted to sign. So sorry, Mike, that I killed your buzz, but I don't think you're the only person whose buzz I have killed. So there might be a little bit of a club there. So welcome to the club, Mike.
Yeah, Jude, I want to let you know, Frankie is quite the buzzkill a lot of the time. Like, we just want to have fun. We just want to talk about it, dream a little bit. Frankie's the guy that you go, hey, what would you do if you won the lottery? And Frankie walks over and goes, the odds of winning the lottery are 1 in 18 billion. Like, that's Frankie. That's what he does.
No, you know what I'd actually say? I'd say, well, first we got to invest the money, and here's how we invest it.
Yeah.
Be like, no supercars. No.
Yeah, right.
So everybody, we got Jude Jets. None other than Jude himself is with us tonight. If you're not familiar with Jude Jets, he is obviously he's among the next generation of Jets content creators, but he probably knows more than 80% of us. He's legit. I wouldn't have had him on here unless he was. He blew my doors off when I first discovered him, and I'm happy he's here. All of his information to follow him, subscribe, all that stuff is in the description of this video. If you haven't subbed to his YouTube channel, please do. He's one of the best, and he's creating tons of content. So, Jude, let me ask you this. Like we were just talking about a little bit, we were talking about guys like Allen Robinson and maybe shifting this a little bit from the combine to free agency. Is Allen Robinson one of the, wide receivers? So Allen Robinson's a wide receiver. Is that one of the positions that you think we should go for in free agency? Or do you think we should wait and use a draft pick? How do you feel about the wide receiver position in particular this offseason?
Well, the goal this offseason has to be getting a wide receiver number 1, and I really like the guys in the draft: Garrett Wilson, Treylon Burks, Chris Olave. Those are my top 3 receivers. But if there's an opportunity like Allen Robinson, personally, it's just kind of like, who knows what's up with Allen Robinson, because he was very good before this 2021 season. Everybody wanted him to come to the Jets last offseason. He wanted to come to the Jets last offseason. And then, the Bears franchise tagged him, and then he had the worst season of his career. And you can't even blame the bad quarterback play because of that, because he's never played with a good quarterback like at any single point in his career. And so, it was last season just a down year, or was it just the downfall, the start of downfall for Allen Robinson? And it just depends on how Joe Douglas thinks about it. And I doubt Joe Douglas is going to pay a lot of money for Allen Robinson. I mean, I would be fine with signing Robinson. I like Allen Robinson. I think he's a good player. I think he just had a down year last season. But, I mean, it just depends on how Joe Douglas, thinks about if that was truly a down year, or if he was just not good anymore. But, I mean, I would be fine with signing Allen Robinson as long as it's for the right price. But, I mean, these wide receivers in this year's draft look very good, though.
Yeah. Allen Robinson, I'm with Jude, Frankie. I think it was a down year. Let's not forget, he had the whole Matt Nagy trying to save his job weirdness that was there. Remember, there was quite a few weeks where he was loudly critiqued for his offensive game plan last year. Plus, he had, the going from what the hell's the first quarterback's name? The guy with the red Dalton.
Red Rifle.
Right, they go from the red rifle, a prototypical pocket passer, to a rookie with a completely different style in Justin Fields. He has a little injury. How do you expect not to have a down year? And I think this could be a really great opportunity to get a fantastic true number one for a little bit less than might be usual, or what he was expecting last year, let's say. I think it could be an opportunity to get him. Would you go and sign Allen Robinson if you had the choice? Not only do you have the money, but would you do it?
I personally would, because the other thing to think about with the Bears, they had a terrible offensive line. If I watched a bunch of games where Justin Fields was running for his life, literally 8 sacks, 9 sacks, he was getting killed. And when that's happening, your wide receivers, what are they going to do? They got what they can. They're going to be out there. They're standing there going, well, I'd like to get a pass, please. Hello, can I get a pass over here? So I just think that whole team was a mess for the most part. They had Dalton, they had Fields. They had no offensive line. They had the Matt Nagy on his way out. So that's what I think. I'm going to, there's something called reception perception that's going to have the route running scores and things like that I'll be interested to see what's going on. But I don't think a guy just all of a sudden stinks and is terrible. I mean, he had 2 great years in a row previously. So I just think, this guy had a down year. Yeah, we might be able to get him at a little bit of a discount rather than coming off the amazing year he had in 2020. So I'd look at it like that. And then we got a good wide receiver room. We get Berrios, bring him back, wide receiver 4, and Denzel Mims slides down to wide receiver 5, which is maybe where he needs to be, and might motivate him to get into the game and catch some passes. And that's a fine wide receiver room right there. I mean,
yeah, it really is, man. I mean, that's the thing. It's all about raising it. Like, if the bottom end of your wide receiver group is Denzel Mims instead of maybe Vincent Smith, right, and those types of guys, like it's raising it up a level. You get a true number one, and you raise the bottom end of your roster throughout this. Like, how many times, did we, there was like a cut on a really good team. Like, they cut their 5th wide receiver, then we sign him and he's our one. He's our number 1 wide receiver because our talent level is so low. That's where we want to get to. You want to have to cut good players. And I think if you bring Robinson in, and maybe some other guys, if Robinson isn't your flavor, but somebody like that, I think would be a good move. Now, we got a super chat from Edward Ziff, and this is a good point. Jude, you might not know this reference. I'm sure you do, though. You know your stuff. Ed Ziff says, speed's not everything. Lamb Jones, fast but no hands. Jude, do you remember, or not remember, but do you know anything about Johnny Lamb Jones?
Gonna be honest here. Don't know anything about Lamb Jones.
But it is a good point. It is a good point by Edward. They put up NFL.com, put up the NFL Network, put up something on screen showing all the players who ran 4.2 something at the combine who did absolutely nothing as wide receivers, and they said and they basically made the point that Edwards making, and it's true. But I think when you combine kind of the skill, like the reason why it's so eye-popping for Olave is people already knew he's probably the best route runner in the class this year. People already knew about his hands. People already knew he came from Ohio State, the great competition level, all that. And then on top of that, in addition, he's also a 4.26. Oh, by the way, he's going to run right by you. Goodbye. So it's the combination of things. You can't just look at any one data point in and of itself and say, okay, that means this guy's amazing, going to the Hall of Fame. Because otherwise, Tyquan Thornton, who ran a 4.21, who I didn't know before this moment in time, he's going to the Hall of Fame now. Tyquan Thornton, he ran a 4.21. So Hall of Famer, Tyquan Thornton.
Just like that. Now, isn't it crazy though? Like when these shifts take place, like if any of these guys would have run like in the last 15 years, they would have been the fastest 40 time. Like 4.26 would have easily been the fastest 40 time in a long time. He runs it today. Everybody goes, yay. And somebody comes 4 players later and runs faster than him. How does this work? How does that work? So let's shift a minute. I want to talk a little bit about some of the guys on our roster, Jude. I'm really curious to hear what you think. Now, I mean, he's not technically on our roster right now, but we got guys like LDT. He's a free agent. Greg Van Roten is under contract. And then we have guys like Connor McGovern and even Morgan Moses is a free agent. Talking about the offensive line with the guys that we have, who would you want to see stay? Is there anybody that you'd cut? Where do you stand with the guys that I'm talking about on our O-line?
So with the offensive line, obviously Greg Van Roten is just going to have to get cut this offseason. There's no scenario I can see us keeping him. He was just terrible in 2021, so he's out of here. So obviously that makes right guard a position of need, and we can land a right guard and like a lot. We can get one in free agency. We can get one through the draft. Personally, I don't think we're going to re-sign Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. I really like him, but we're trying to be the best team we can be. Joe Douglas said in his press conference, 6 wins in the last 2 seasons is not enough. And, you re-sign ODT. It's not a bad re-sign, but you could also improve. So personally, I would just sign or draft someone that could be an improvement over Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. And Morgan Moses, I really like Morgan Moses, but I feel like Mekhi Becton and George Fant are going to be our 2 starting tackles in 2021. I mean, Mekhi Becton, he's a stud. I highly doubt he's going to show up to training camp out of shape. He wants to play football. Mekhi Becton, he has that urge, and we see his tweets whenever he was hurt during the season. Mekhi Becton was tweeting out like, man, when my first game back is finna go crazy. Like, he just has that urge to get back on the football field, and he's working with the nutritionist. He's grinding on the daily. And those videos we've seen of him, he did not look out of shape whatsoever. So we have Mekhi Becton who's itching to get back on the football field, and I feel like he's going to come back better than ever in training camp this year. And then we have George Fant, who's coming off of like a really good season, was one of the best left tackles in the NFL in 2021. And I find it hard that the New York Jets are going to say, you know what, after that fantastic season you had, and I just don't think they're going to just say, you know what, you're going to be on the bench now. And we know Joe Douglas is a humongous fan of George Fant as well. And I just feel like we're going to not re-sign Morgan Moses, make George Fant either our left tackle or right tackle, depending on who wins the job. And if George Fant wins the job, he'll be the left tackle. Becton loses it, he'll be right, and vice versa. And then, Connor McGovern, he's a solid center, had a very impressive season in 2021, improved from 2020, and I feel like he can improve in 2022. But I feel like we should definitely at least try to not make him the center of the future and go after someone in the draft. Alec Linderstorm, guy we can get maybe in the round 3 or 4, is a guy I really like from Boston College. Has his brother is actually in the NFL right now. So, I really like having players who have close family members who are in the NFL because they know that work ethic. They know how to be good in the NFL. That's kind of my whole view on the offensive line situation.
Yeah, it's a really great point about guys who come from the bloodline. Like, so they've seen it their whole life. They know what it takes to get there. I think that's a great point. Like we were talking about earlier with Hayward. I mean,
Yeah.
his brother, he's got his dad. He came from the NFL. Then his older brother's in the NFL, and so I think that's a really good point. Now I see something in the chat, and that's going to make me switch gears a little bit. There are two comments right in a row. The first one, and I'll read both, and I want to hear both of your thoughts on this. Raw Power checks in. He says, JD's still saying he believes in Mims, and he's working hard this offseason. Are we buying it? Now, Gitmo Bob follows that and says, JD said Mims is in great shape and is working hard. He expects him to compete for a job. So I'll start with you, Frankie. What do you think about this? Is it just coach speak, sort of, like it's just saying the right thing, company line, or are you buying it?
Well, I think it's a combination. I do think this is exactly what a general manager would say when you have an asset that's low right now. Denzel Mims, he's not a high value asset at the moment. So you would expect him to say this. Of course, what else is he going to say? He's in great shape. He's working hard. He's going to come in and compete for a spot. Yeah. But on the other hand, I believe he is in Miami. So if folks missed it, Zach Wilson flew to Miami in order to work out with some of the receivers. And I believe Denzel is in that group of Corey Davis and Elijah and all the receivers we have. And he's working out. So if that's the case and they're all hanging out and getting the mind meld going and getting on the same page and getting the chemistry, then he will be in great shape. And we got to see what he looks like. He's got to come into camp and be a different guy than he was last year. He fell behind last year and never recovered. And so, but if he doesn't do it this year, this is probably his last shot, at least with the Jets, I would think.
At least with the Jets, right?
Yeah.
Jude, where do you stand on Denzel Mims? Are you buying it? You just heard what Frankie said. What do you think? You think he's got a shot to turn his career around with us?
I mean, I'm definitely buying it. I mean, Denzel Mims had a hard year in 2021. He had the salmon in the offseason. He was dealing with COVID during the season and a whole bunch of other stuff. And 2021 was just a rough year for Denzel Mims and probably just wasn't in the right headspace and whatnot. The offseason, which was very crucial for him, that was his first offseason with the new coaching staff and whatnot, because I would honestly say he fit more of an Adam Gase system than a Robert Saleh system. So it kind of like that whole switch was just maybe a little hard on him. So now this offseason he has just a whole lot more time to work with the quarterback because, for majority of the offseason, he kind of was in the expectation that Sam Darnold was going to be his QB as well. And we did trade him a bit early on, but now he just has a full season in with Zach Wilson, a full season in with this New York Jets team, a full season in with his coaching staff. And maybe if he can clean down the injuries, cut down the injuries, and not in any more salmon, he can come back better than ever in 2022 and compete for a roster spot.
Yeah.
And I do buy what you're just saying.
Stay away from the salmon.
It's all about the seafood, man. Just stick to the protein and veggies. That's it, Denzel.
I mean, I don't blame Mims though, because coming from Louisiana, seafood is awesome. But don't eat the salmon.
Is that where you're from, Louisiana?
Yes, from Louisiana.
Oh,
I knew there was some kind of accent there. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. Jude, how'd you become a Jets fan, being from Louisiana?
Madden. I mean, my brother would always use the Saints, and my favorite color was green, and so I would always pick the Jets because they were a green team.
It was that simple, Frankie. You hear
That
that?
simple, yeah. And I would just know all the players, and whenever the season came around, there was like a Jets game on TV or something. I'm just like, hey, I know all these guys, and I just became a Jets fan after that. So
I like it. Now, I want to draw our attention to, you see the comment on the screen from Metal Kid. That is Teen Bean's alter ego. That is my son. And he says, I love Mims. Just put him in as a rotational guy to play maybe 15% of the snaps. I think no matter how you slice it, I think working him in, making sure he knows the playbook, like Jude said, stay away from anything dangerous that could potentially make you sick. Get your body mass back up. Learn the playbook, work your ass off, work out with Zach Wilson whenever you get the chance, and rotate him in. I think, like Jets Forever said, I was going into last year thinking sincerely that Mims had the potential to be wide receiver 1. If he was wide receiver 4 right now, I'd be grateful. So that's an interesting one. Let's see. We had another couple questions on there. So Raw Power, this is just to finish the Mims thing. Raw Power also said, I don't think JD is trying to pump up his trade status. It's not really possible at this point. And I agree. Jude, you think Mims has any trade value right now, or you
I mean, he has trade value because he's a former second-round pick, but I just don't think Joe Douglas is going to trade Denzel Mims. I feel like he really does believe him. I feel like everything he's saying in his interviews, or not interviews, press conferences, are really sincere, really 100% the truth. And I feel like, yeah, Denzel Mims is going to have trade value. He's a former second-round pick, was a beast in college, and showed a lot of potential in his rookie season. Honestly, showed a little bit of flashes in early 2021, so he's going to have some trade status. But I mean, the only way I really see us trading Mims is if it's in a deal with Calvin Ridley or whatnot, or to acquire a star player. But I mean, Joe Douglas is just not going to trade Denzel Mims. It's just for like a 4th-round pick, because Denzel Mims, like y'all were saying, has the potential to be a wide receiver number 1. It might not seem possible now, but I mean, last offseason, we were coming in thinking it was going to be Corey Davis, Denzel Mims, and Jamison Crowder and Elijah Moore in the slot. And then it just wasn't that. So I feel like Denzel Mims, he does have some trade value there, but I highly doubt Joe Douglas is going to trade him.
I think that's really an excellent way to look at it. It's like, number one, his value's low. Frankie talks about this all the time. Trade, you buy low and trade, get rid and sell high, right? That's how it goes. Right now, his value's super low, but Joe Douglas picked him. He obviously did his intel. He had a very good rookie year after the injury. I mean, he looked good. So I think right now, just the fact that he's working out, both him and Becton out there, maybe with a little chip on their shoulder, maybe with something to prove, could only be a good thing for us. And hey, if he doesn't make it, fine. But right now, I think his potential still outweighs his, anything that you're going to get for him. And dude, we got to remember, Becton is 22. Mims is 23 years old. We're not talking about 30-year-old dudes. These are young kids trying to cut their teeth in the NFL. I think they're going to be good. We got a super chat from Edward Ziff. Thanks, Ed. He says, draft Linderbaum and solve center and right guard. Move McGovern over one spot to the right. Jude, what do you think of that idea? I hear this all the time. A lot of fans agree with Ed. They think drafting a guy like Linderbaum in the first could essentially kill 2 birds with one stone, because you can move McGovern over to guard. So then we've upgraded center and we've upgraded right guard. What do you think of that plan? Is that something that interests you?
I was on the Linderbaum train early in the season, but I've officially gotten off. I've been to I was really high on Linderbaum, made a Linderbaum jersey swap, and I rarely make jersey swaps, but I'm just not on that train anymore. I was like, kind of, because it's just like we have so many other needs. And yes, we could move McGovern over to right guard, and it would solve that right guard need. But you could also draft a Zion Johnson. You could draft a guy later in this year's draft to kind of fill those needs. And I mean, I just really don't think drafting a center in the top 10 when we have so many other needs is just something we should do. I mean, if we are able to solve a ton of needs in free agency and through trade, which I don't really think happens, because by the time the draft rolls around, we're still going to have a lot of needs. But if somehow we're able to do that and we're in position to draft Linderbaum, then sure, why not do it? But it's because we just have so many needs to address. I don't think taking a center in the top 10 would be worth it.
Interesting. Frankie, let's look at that same question from a different angle. Do you think McGovern would want to move over to right guard? I mean, I've heard something that said that he wouldn't. I don't know where it came from. But what do you think about that? Drafting Linderbaum, killing 2 birds at one stone. Do you think McGovern would sign on for that, or you think he'd be resistant or not happy?
It really depends on, I'm trying to think of the market for guards and centers. I believe that overall guards make more than centers. Isn't that correct?
I don't know.
I would say, yeah.
So if that's the case, I mean, he might be open to it, because he might go, okay, I'm a year away from free agency. Let me move over to guard, and that'll improve my value. Now I have some versatility in the market. I could be a guard/center. Guards make more money. So let me try and be a good guard. And that's the way I'd do it if I were him. Now, this question about Linderbaum really depends on free agency. I personally think we should try to solve right guard through free agency, and then we would need Linderbaum. But if we strike out and nobody wants to come here, which could happen.
Good, right?
It could very well happen.
Yeah, it could.
Then we might have to, and then we have to get right guard solved in the draft one way or another. And if we, let's say for some reason Icky and Evan Neal, who now, by the way, weighs 337 pounds.
And
was-
looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Like,
So Evan Neal, probably first pick of the draft, or it might be Sticky Icky. We don't know.
might.
And it could be that those two guys are both gone, let's say, for some reason, because Houston's a big wild card. Who the hell knows what the Texans are going to do? They need help everywhere. They basically have no talent on the roster whatsoever.
Right.
So those two could be gone. And then let's say we take Hamilton with 4. Okay, here come the comments in the chat. And then and then we're left at 10 and we don't know what to do. We don't have a right guard and Linderbaum sitting there. Yeah. Then in that scenario, yeah, we could do that. And that would be a good plan. But there's a lot of, there's a lot of contingency there. So it just really depends how the rest of the offseason plays out, really.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a good point too. Like if guards do make more money, I don't know, maybe Wat2K can find that or for us if he wants, but I really am not sure which position makes more, but that would be an interesting twist to it. It's like, hey, moving Connor McGovern to guard, maybe he can get a 5% raise if he plays well, just on positionally. So that would be interesting. Now, look, we have Jude for about 5 more minutes, and I want to give him the opportunity to tell us his optimal draft with our first 4 picks. Let's say it goes your way entirely. What are you going to do? You can have any players you want, realistically, though, of course. With our first 4 picks, 4, 10, 35, 38. What are you doing, Jude?
So I'm going to go off of what I did in my mock-off season about a week ago. Pick number 4, Kayvon Thibodeau. I really believe he falls to us. It might be a wild card depending on what he does in the combine, but I just have a feeling that Kayvon Thibodeau is going to fall to the New York Jets at 4. So we saw the edge rusher position. Boom. We have our edge for the future. Pick 10, Treylon Burks, wide receiver from Arkansas. Love Treylon Burks so much. I mean, he might not have ran what we were all expecting him to run at 4 or 5. I was kind of expecting him to run somewhere in that 4.4 range. But I mean, 4.5 for like someone that size is pretty good. And I mean, I posted something on Twitter like AJ Brown ran a 4.49. That was his best time at the 40. And you look at their measurements, they're very similar. And AJ Brown is killing it in the NFL. And Treylon Burks has better measurements than AJ Brown as well, and is moving kind of at the same speed as him. So I feel like Burks is just going to be a stud in the NFL. I feel like he's the best receiver in this year's draft. So get a wide receiver number 1 for Zach Wilson. Pick 35, Trey McBride, tight end from Colorado State. Now, after the combine, I don't know if he's going to be there or not. But, I mean, Trey McBride, everybody loves Trey McBride. I don't think anyone would be opposed to this pick. I mean, he's so good. He can block. He can catch. I mean, he's going to be a future all-pro at the position. Right. And then at pick 38, I think we draft guard Zion Johnson from Boston College. And that is my dream first 4 picks.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, that is a nice, well-rounded approach to the game of football and team building. Frankie, what do you think of Jude's draft there?
Well, I don't think Zion's lasting into the second round. That's the only problem. Zion is also
wait. Jude, this is what we're talking about with the buzzkill. This is it.
Here comes the buzzkill. Now, what I know about Zion, he's also working out, in addition to Mekhi Becton, with Duke Manyweather. So people may know that Duke Manyweather is I think, the greatest guru of all time as far as offensive lineman is concerned. And that's who Mekhi Becton's working out with. So anybody who didn't know that, he's not just working out with a trainer or some guy. It's Duke freaking Manyweather. He's the best in the world. So that's good. But also Zion is also working out with him, I believe. And so Duke Manyweather saying this guy is a stud. So when Duke Manyweather says that about a guy, I tend to believe him. So I think Zion's going in the first. And you think about the back of the first round, there's a team called the Buccaneers who might be losing 60% of their offensive line all in one swoop. Marpet retired. Jensen and Kappa might be free agents. They might retain them, but they could lose 60% of their line. They got nothing. And then they're going to have Kyle Trask sitting there going, well, hey, what happened? I thought I had a team here.
I was so excited. What happened? I was so happy to come here.
This is not the same as Tom Brady had. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So they're gonna need offensive line very badly. And there's also a team called the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay. Did we see what happened to Joe Burrow's knees? I think Joe Burrow's knees are going to make a draft pick in the first round, and it's going to be the best, offensive lineman they could possibly get at 30. I think they're picking 31, right? So if Zion's sitting there, they're taking him. There's no doubt about it. So, that's why I think he's not getting to the second. But otherwise, it's a good idea. I mean, I'd love to get Zion too. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I think, look, man, if we could address our edge, Jude, like with the premier, and who knows how anybody's career is going to work out, right? But get a guy that has the potential to be a truly premier edge rusher. Then you get arguably the best wide receiver in the draft, then pretty securely the best tight end in the draft, and then one of the top 5 guards in the draft. I think that's a slam dunk, buddy. I love your draft.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's fantastic. Now, Jude, before I let you go, why don't you let everybody know what you got going, if you have anything coming up, where they can find you?
Alrighty, so as GreenBean said earlier, everything is linked down below. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all that is linked down below. But if you're kind of just like, why should I subscribe? Why should I waste any of my time subscribing to this kid's channel? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you should. You find a whole lot of Jets content on there. Basically anything you would like. You need a Jets update, I got it. Talk about all the latest Jets news. Talk about a lot of Jets rumors and just like Jets theories. Like maybe we could sign this guy. Maybe we could cut this guy. Just do all of that type of stuff. During the season, I do a lot of videos about the games. I do a preview. I do a post-game thought video after. So that's what you can just find on my channel right there. So if you guys are interested, make sure to subscribe down below. And if you enjoyed what you heard tonight, you're going to find the same stuff and maybe even better stuff on my channel.
Maybe even better stuff. He didn't even break out the big guns for us tonight. But that is Jude Jets, everybody. Again, like he said, all of his information is in the description of this video. Do us a favor. Go over there and give him a subs. Give him your sub. Let's get him over 1,000 so he could monetize his channel and start building something here. He's one of the truly great next generation content creators for the New York Jets. And not only is he next generation, he's doing it right now. And he's got more stuff on there than a lot of other guys that we follow. So thanks, Jude. I really do appreciate it, man. You brought the fire, as they say. And I look forward to the next time we get to hang out, buddy. And again, thank you for being here, man.
And thank you for having me on. Tonight was a blast.
Awesome. Jude Jets, everybody. Have a great night, buddy. There he goes. Now, Frankie, if you were Jude's age and you started doing your channel then, do you think you'd be ahead of this? Like, what? Could you imagine getting started with what you wanted to do at a young age like he is?
GreenBean, I was thinking about this the other day. When we were kids, we didn't have these things. We didn't have the internet. No. I remember getting like a football game, like a handheld little football game with little lights in it where you could, and then a little baseball.
Coleco head to head.
Is that what it was? I don't even remember what it was. And you'd sit there in the car or whatever, and you'd play this and you'd think it was the best thing ever. I loved those little games we used to get. And so if I had to grow up in this internet age at that tender young age, I don't know. I might be a Looney Tunes. I don't know. It's a little, but then again, I would get used to it maybe. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a little envious. I wish I knew what the hell I liked as a kid. Right about his age, I was still lighting shit on fire, Frankie. That's what I was. I had a hairspray can and a lighter, and I walked around. There's a whole bunch of ant colonies that I destroyed. Complete genocide. But yeah, I love Jude. And guys, again, why don't we give our boy a follow? Go over there and support his channel if you can. He's great, man, and he's as good at this as any of us, and it would be great. So I'm glad that he came on. Now I want to get to this super chat, and we're going to bring in a little bit. We're going to bring Watsu on. He's got some good stuff for us, and then we're going to bring on Jeremy again. He's going to give away a Darth Vader doll. Oh, sorry, an action figure. I don't want to get that wrong. He's going to give away a Darth Vader action figure to you guys, prepping up for some of the things he's got going on his channel, NFL Chaos with Jeremy. But Wild Billy Boy writes in, he says, GreenBean, I saw you catch some flack for basically saying we should wait to get Zach Wilson help in the second. There is no clear-cut wide receiver at 10, and I couldn't agree more. Also, next mock, no McBride, because he might not be there. Interesting, Frankie, on the second half of that. One of the options for next week's Monday Night Mock theme is going to be Trey McBride. We can't draft Trey McBride. He's off the board because he has been in every single draft that we've run so far this year, every mock. Trey McBride's been picked at 35. So I think it'll be fun to maybe see what we would do if we didn't get Trey McBride. But on the first part of that, look, I want to make sure everybody knows I'm a huge fan of getting Zach Wilson, not only weapons, but protection. I mean, look, I think we have to make sure that this guy is given every opportunity to be our franchise quarterback. We cannot let him ruminate behind a shell of an offensive line like we did with Sam Darnold and just watch him gaining PTSD every week. We just watched it get worse and worse. I want to see Zach Wilson succeed. The only argument that I make is that if the drop-off between the wide receivers, the offensive linemen, the tight ends, whatever it might be, if the drop-off is less significant from the first round to the second round, and the defensive guys, the drop-off is more severe after Hutchinson, Thibodeau, after Sauce Gardner and those guys. If the drop-off is more severe on that side of the ball, you want to be able to use your top 5 pick on a top 5 talent. That's the only requisite, is if you have a top 5 pick, make sure you leave there with a guy who is a top 5 talent. Don't reach for need. So that's what I'm saying. I think that we should absolutely get Zach Wilson as much as we possibly can. But you got to make sure that the talent level is worthy of where you're picking, because if you can get the same level at 35 and you take him at 4, that would be a dumb move. So any thoughts on that, Frankie? Do you disagree with me? Do you have anything to add?
No, I agree. I mean, this is the value of a system, right? It's because when you have a system with grades, you can see who is in a class by themselves. If you have, for example, the safety position is one of those. It seems like Kyle Hamilton's in a class by himself in this draft. But if you have a chance to get him, you get him. Whereas with the wide receivers, you may have a bunch of them bunched up together, and you say, out of these 6 guys, if we get any one of these 6, we're happy, because they're all about the same to us. Whereas you might not have that for safety or some other position. So that's the value of having a system with grades, which is what I've been trying to do on my channel, is use a graded system. So that way we can see who's bunched up together and where can we get them. If you have a bunch of guys bunched up in the 3rd round that you're just as happy to get, then you don't have to worry about that till the 3rd round. Whereas if there's one guy that you have that's head and shoulders above everybody, well, you better make sure you get him earlier. So I think that's pretty wise.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole thing. I mean, like Jets fans, we're kind of polarized, you know what I mean? Like we're very intense as a fan base. And we, if somebody disagrees with you, even in the slightest degree, sometimes you get attacked and, it's like, you're a loser, you're a fucking idiot. Like that's how it goes sometimes. But the truth is that a lot of us are a lot closer than you think. Like in truth, I am hoping to get Kayvon Thibodeau and Hamilton. That would be my top option. Like if Hamilton slid to 10, we grab him, something like that. I would love it. That doesn't mean that if we decide to go, let's say Icky and Burks, like I'm psyched. You know what I mean? It's honestly, if whatever the Jets think is top 5 talent, it better be top 5 talent. Top 10 talent, it better be top 10 talent. If we bring those guys in, I'm psyched about it. There's numerous ways that this draft can go that I would be happy with. There's also a couple ways that I would be unhappy with. Let's say we drafted a defensive tackle at 4 and a quarterback at 10. I would lose my shit. Like that's the kind of stuff that I wouldn't want to see. But there are numerous other options that I would be happy with. So, and that will lead me. I want to just say out loud, thanks, everybody for supporting Jude. There's a lot of really nice comments in the chat right now, and I appreciate it, man. Again, I mean, that's not a charity thing. Like I honestly brought Jude on because I know he can bring it, and I'm happy to have him on. I watch his videos when I get a chance, so I mean, that's the truth. I've watched more of Jude's videos than I care to admit right now. But I love him. So I just appreciate all the support. Again, I see a bunch of people saying that they subscribe. That's awesome. If you haven't subscribed to Jude Jets, the link to his YouTube channel is in the description of this video. And Frankie, something you just said, brought me to a topic I want to talk about right before we get to your segment. And then I want to bring Watu K and Jeremy on for a little longer tonight. Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas both gave interviews this week. Robert Saleh, I know, on Zoom, and Joe Douglas from the Combine. And they both alluded to the idea that they might be thinking defense up top. Robert Saleh went on to say, he went as far as saying that he thinks, drafting defense could be something that helps Zach Wilson the most. And Joe Douglas said something similar with playing with a lead as opposed to playing from a deficit and all that kind of stuff. Do you think this is smokescreen, or do you think this is really what they're thinking? Did the Jets tip their hand a little bit with these interviews? Where do you stand?
Well, no, I don't think they tipped their hand, but I do think what they said was true. I mean, think about it. If you're 3 and out, if your defense is consistently making the other team go 3 and out all the time, that's more reps for Zach to get on the field and less pressure for him. I mean, think about how much pressure Zach was under last year. He had in the beginning of the year, he had a no good offensive line. Everybody's trying to learn. Their defense is getting punched in the mouth. And he's running around trying to find, Corey Davis in the end zone. So he's thinking he's got to win. He's got to do everything himself. We couldn't run the ball very much. And, things got better at the end of the year. But if you think about it, if we know we have a defense that can stop somebody, that could tackle somebody when it's 3rd and 21, and we could stop a frickin' screen before it goes for 25 frickin' yards, that's God's sakes. Because we have people who can tackle people, and we have people who are fast and speedy and know how to tackle. Then they get off the field, and that's it's very hard to score on a defense that's sitting on the bench. So we want our defense over there on the bench, and we want our offense on the field, controlling the game and getting a lot of reps and getting a lot of first downs and moving the ball and scoring a lot of points. So I think what they said was logical. I don't think they gave anything away. It's just logical. You got to try and balance everything. You got to get weapons for Zach Wilson, of course. You got to protect Zach Wilson, of course. You got to block for him. You got to get him a running game. But you also have to get a defense. You also need a kicker. You also need a punt returner. You need everything. And that's why rebuilds are so hard. But So I don't think they gave anything away. They were just it's just truthful that there's something called complementary football. Good offenses help defenses. Good defense helps your offense. It goes both ways.
Now, do you think that could lead to them doing what a lot of Jets fans, it's like the one move they don't want to see? Do you think Kyle Hamilton could be drafted at 4?
Yeah. And I think if he's there, he is drafted at 4. Remember, the one thing we couldn't do we couldn't do a lot of things.
Yeah.
But the primary thing we couldn't do was cover people from the safety position. Remember all the things they tried to do to fix safety after LaMarcus Joyner went out. People forget about LaMarcus Joyner. Now, LaMarcus Joyner wasn't supposed to be some all-pro player, but he was supposed to cover people because he was a converted nickel corner. And he was going to play free safety, and he was going to cover people, and Marcus May was going to tackle people. That was the idea. And he went out in the first game, and we spent the entire year trying to recover from that injury from LaMarcus Joyner. We brought in all kinds of people. Remember Adrian Colbert and Jared Wilson and this one and that. And we finally found Elijah Riley. We tried to make it work with him. And then toward the end of the year, we even went so far as to convert Jason Pinnock, a cornerback that nobody had ever heard of before we drafted him, into a safety and started starting him at safety. That's how bad it was for us. That's what Ulbrich was trying to do the entire season. And now May is gone. Joyner's gone. We could resign them if we want, but they're probably gone. All we have is Ashton Davis and Jason Pinnock and Elijah Riley. And we have a big donut hole there to cover up the biggest need we have. And then in that particular draft is Kyle Hamilton, the guy who may be the best at doing that in a long time. I don't know if he's generational, but he's at least very good at the one thing we were trying to cover for the entire year. And people are upset that we might take him. This is insanity because Jamal Adams. Because Jamal Adams, you can't take. Well, Jamal Adams was a jerk and is a jerk and was running his mouth all the time. And we were able to get a huge haul for him. We should be thankful about Jamal Adams and what Joe Douglas did. So
yeah.
I don't get it.
Well, look, and the quarterback that I wanted instead of Jamal Adams, as great as he is, Deshaun Watson, we'd be in that mess right now. Whatever he got into in Texas, whatever it was, I'm not saying guilty, I'm not saying innocent, but whatever it was down there, if he was in New York, it'd be 5 times worse. So I don't think I think that whole scenario saved us. Instead of having either Watson or Adams, we got AVT and the 10th overall pick, who we don't know who that's going to be. But I think you're right, man. I think if Kyle Hamilton is there at 4 and Thibodeau and Hutchinson aren't, I think he's got to at least be in the conversation. Salah said as much. He said he calls them unicorns, and sometimes, you're looking at positions and maybe you wouldn't draft this position high. He said, but you can't be rigid and stubborn. You have to consider the actual player. You want to grab the best player on the board. So I want to get to this super chat, and then we're going to bring on your segment. Excuse me. I want to remind everybody, I am in the back of a pickup truck in the middle of a Walmart in Cottonwood, Arizona. So I have no internet where I'm staying. So I have to come up here and do that. All my batteries are running out and my computer is running out of power. I'm in a pickle here. But so that's why the lights are the way it is. I haven't figured this out yet. Maybe by the Monday Night Mock, I'll have it figured out. But that's what you're seeing. I'm trying to block the light with my head. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. So that's what it is, guys. All this is, take it as my dedication to you. That's what it really is. This is how committed I am to the game, and I'm happy to be here. Jared Helmuth checks in, and thank you, Jared. We appreciate the super chat. He says, sorry I'm late. Oh, that's okay, Jared. You don't have to worry about that. I may be in the minority, but I've never been more convinced that we should take Sauce Gardner. This wide receiver class is bonkers. What do you think about that, Frankie? Because of the way the wide receivers are performing at the combine, does that make you want to go out there and get a premium cornerback? Where do you stand with this question?
Well, we need a premium cornerback regardless of the draft class, because you need corners. So somebody was saying when I was making my point about Hamilton, we also need edge rushers. Yeah, you need that. You need everything. You need linebackers. You need edge rushers. You need defensive tackles. You need safeties, and you need cornerbacks. This is called defense. So yes, we should get Sauce Gardner because we need an upgrade from Brandon Eccles. And so if we went, let's say we went, Hamilton at 4, Sauce Gardner at 10, and then we get Arnold Ebiketie in the second round along with Trey McBride. That would probably be my optimal, and that's realistic. You could probably make that work. Hamilton, Gardner, now we're covering people. Ebiketie, that's my edge, okay, and combined with Lawson, and then we get McBride tight end, and then that's our first 4. I'd be happy with that because – especially if you can't get Hutch or Thibodeau, let's say they're gone, the next group you may feel okay with, Karlaftis or Ebiketie or, the next group, Jermaine Johnson and so forth. So if that's the case, then you still get your edge. You can rush people, you can cover people, and you can tackle people. That's what I like. Defense.
Yeah. See, I like it too. I just got to say, I still struggle with the idea of using one of these 2 first on a cornerback. I like Sauce Gardner. I wouldn't be unhappy per se, but I feel like that would be maybe 4th on my list for the 10th pick. So I don't know if we decide to bring on Sauce Gardner, I'm going to make it a positive in my brain right away, because I do like the player. And if we're going to bring on a cornerback from the draft, I would rather it be a first than another 5th. So that's how I see it. But yeah, Jared, I think that's a good, hey, I see where you're coming from, man. That's good logic there. So Frankie, let me do one more super chat, and then we're going to bring on your segment. John Salty Nuts Magoo checks in and says, Green Bean, you are one dedicated dude. Thanks, man. Well, thank you, John. I do appreciate it. I'm trying out here. I have all these batteries. Look at this, Frankie. This is called the Rock Solar.
This is why Green Bean stays in the Walmart parking lot. He never knows what he's going to need from Walmart.
I know. Yeah. Last week when we were doing my Patreon thing, I literally ran out of battery. My cord didn't work. Jeremy took over, kept it going for a few minutes. I ran into Walmart, bought a new cord, and came back, and we were good. So you're right. There's a logic to parking at Walmart. I could have went to Home Depot, but I decided, you know what? You never know what you need. I'm going to stay at Walmart because it's a little safer. You can even go in there and get a sandwich if you want, which is nice. But thank you, John. I appreciate it, man. So let's start with Frankie's segment right now. We're going to see what he's got in store for us. And that segment is lovingly entitled Frankie's Facts. There it is, Frankie. What do you got, buddy?
All right. Well, it's combine week, so let's start with some combine facts, combine connections to the Jets. For example, did you know that Drake London says that he has a big twin on the Jets? Who do you think that might be?
Oh, that sounds like Denzel Mims,
No, think about it.
Corey
Then
Davis.
Drake London says Elijah Vera Tucker is his big
Oh.
twin.
You know what? I
And-
knew that. I actually knew that. Frank. What the hell's wrong with me?
And he says he's definitely been in his ear. He's talking to him. He's talking to Drake London. He's selling him on the Jets. Hey, you might want to come over here. If you come here, it's going to be a good time. Don't worry. We got it all figured out, Drake. How about that?
Well, I like it. Let me ask you though on that. You would you be happy with Drake London in the first?
Yeah, I would be. I mean, there's a lot of question marks. I mean, he's a big 6'5", fast, good hands catching former basketball player. That dude does like 360 dunks and stuff like that. So he can box people out, all that. Wide receiver. So I'm not going to be upset. And they would, so I would trust our scouts that say, okay, this guy's the guy. If he goes 10, he's got to be the guy. You can't, he can't be he can't be wide receiver 3 with that pick. He's got to be the alpha male. So
Right.
I wouldn't be upset, but I don't know if he's the alpha just yet, but maybe he is. I mean, he's got the skills, 6'5". I mean,
Yeah.
So maybe.
So what other
All right.
connections you got for us?
Did you know that there was a Trey McBride Jets connection?
Trey McBride Jets connection. Let's see. Is it because of some Barrios? They have blonde hair.
Incorrect.
What is it?
It is, and you wouldn't expect this, but there's a former tight end of the Jets that Trey McBride looked up to. Can you believe it?
That's Kyle Brady, of course.
Incorrect.
Oh,
It's someone from the 2005 draft, Joel Dreesen.
ooh. Now, what is the connection? He looked up to him?
He looked up to him. It says Joel Dreesen. He says is a guy I really looked up to my whole life. McBride said, and he's from because he's from Fort Morgan, Colorado.
Oh, that makes sense. You get an NFL. It doesn't matter how good or bad he is. If there's an NFL guy from your town and you're trying to get, that's your hero. Fair enough?
They went to the same high school, Fort Morgan High School in Colorado. That's what it was.
Totally.
Joel Dreesen. So there you go. Trey McBride to the Jets because of Joel Dreesen.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, this is making sense to me, Frankie. All right, what else you got?
Did you know that Jahan Dotson is so loving of football? We often say that Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh are looking for guys who love ball and they love it so much that they eat, sleep, and drink football, all this stuff. Well, Jahan Dotson, every single night, he takes a football to bed with himself and throws it to himself over and over and over every night of his life.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Now,
fantastic.
how about that?
I love it. He totally fits in. That's the kind of guy we want. Joe Douglas said in his first presser, we want guys who sleep with their footballs. That's what we want.
Yeah, sweet. And then someone we haven't been talking about, this is the last one I have, this is Isaiah Likely. And that's a guy who's sort of in the middle. He's more known as a pass catcher, but I think he can be a decent blocker as well. He's a little undersized, 6'3". He says he can do it all. He says, a lot of teams tell me I'd be a moving F piece because I can go everywhere in line, in the slot, and go out wide. And he says he considers himself the best route runner in this class with reliable hands. And every scout is telling him his hands are the best in the class, better than McBride. So,
Really?
yeah. And he says that's something I pride myself on. So there's a guy not a lot of people are talking about. It'd be interesting in your next mock if McBride is out of the picture. Would it be Likely? Would it be Ruckert? Would it be Dulcich? Would it be somebody like that? So it might be Likely. Likely's an interesting guy. He had a ton of production, obviously, at Coastal Carolina.
Right.
And, he's a pass catcher, so he's a weapon for sure. So interesting stuff.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the thing with Isaiah Likely, there are two knocks, really. One is, just like you said, he's coming out of Coastal Carolina, so he's really a man amongst boys. Like, so he's playing against guys he is clearly better
Yeah.
than. He's a big fish in a small pond. The other thing is that he is not a blocker. Now, can he work on it? I don't know. But he's actually considered somewhat of a liability, I've read. He's just not a blocker. So if you're looking for that more well-rounded guy, if a guy like Trey McBride or Ruckert or Dulich, any of these guys have slightly, lesser hands, but they can also fiercely block, I think
Right.
that they would be considered, before a guy like Isaiah Likely. But yeah, I've even seen him talked about as the closest thing to Kyle Pitts in this draft. Now, it's not to say he is Kyle Pitts, but that's kind of the mold. He's a pure pass catching guy, and like you just said, he's really considered somewhat of a weapon. So I'm sure he's going to be valuable to whoever wants him. I just don't think. I think we're looking for the dual impact, the blocker and the pass catching. What do you think?
Well, if we could get, it depends. Like if we got Schultz in free agency, say, and then we drafted McBride, now we got two guys who are YFs. Two of them,
Right.
which is perfect. And then if this guy slips to the fourth round somehow, maybe he slips to the fourth round, and you pick him up, then that's a steal. And now you got something because you don't need him to block. You just use him, situationally where he's going to create mismatch nightmares. That would be fantastic. And then you got the other two guys to block, and they can also catch. So that's the kind of scenario where it's like, okay, we go from a terrible tight end room in 1 year, and then the next year we have a fantastic tight end room where it's like, okay, good luck trying to match up with us now. Good luck.
Yeah. Well, Frankie, I'm inspired right now. I'm having a thought. What would you say to just shifting gears? You got the Elijah Moores on the team. Maybe you re-sign Barrios or whatever. But we just draft Trey McBride, Isaiah Likely, Ferguson, and we just go with
And Charlie Kohler.
Yeah, and 3 and 4 tight end sets. Just
You can do it.
You can. Why
It's
not?
not against the rules. It's
what do
not
you think
against the
about that?
rules. It's not against the rules. We're going to be trendsetters now. We're going to
That's right.
we're
Yeah,
going to do
Imagine everybody, you talk about a copycat league. Everybody's going to try to match up with the 5 tight ends that we have on the field. They're all 6'5", 260 running around.
You don't know if they're going to block. They might chip you. They might block. They might go out and catch a pass. You don't know. We might hand it off to them. You don't know. We'll hand the ball to Isaiah Likely right up the middle. Let him rumble.
I love it. I think that's really, I would be on board. If the Jets just came out and did that, like we got Kenny Yeboah, we draft Trey McBride, we take Ruckert, we take Ferguson, I would cheer with something like that. Now, is it realistic? No. But it's possible. Like Frankie said, it's not against the rules, man.
Not against the rules.
I wonder why Belichick hasn't done it yet. I know, yeah. Duncan says a green bean fever dream, 4 and 5 tight ends.
Versatility. Try a 5 wide where all 5 are tight ends. 0-5, baby. Like,
now what are you gonna do?
Now that's a trend buster. Talk about trend busters. We're going in 0-5 personnel.
That's right. Yeah,
match up to that.
14 personnel, 0-5. Yeah, just a 5 personnel. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, dude. I'm telling you, let's go and get your nickel corners and bring them on out.
Yeah.
Let's
Who are
see
you going to cover? Who are you going to cover likely with? Your linebacker? I don't think so.
Nope.
Dante Hightower going to keep up with Isaiah Likely? Not likely.
Not likely. Ooh, I like what you did there, Frankie. That was pretty good. So I hear some stuff going on in the combine. I want to bring Y2K on. I'm going to bring Jeremy on too. Let's bring these two guys on and let's talk a little. Let's talk some shop, man. Let's see what's going on. Y2K, you ready? Cool. Let's say hello to Y2K. Jeremy, you ready? Let's bring NFL Chaos himself on. He's got more shows than anybody out there. He's got the Y2K show. I just heard he's got the Dom C show. He's got the Wacky Wednesday. He's got something going on with his brother. He's got the Hot Sauce show. So Jeremy's the hardest working guy in the biz. But hey, Y2K, let me ask you. Somebody just said in the chat that Drake London actually measured in at 6'3", not 6'5". Did you hear that? You know anything about that? Would be a killer for him.
I heard something about that. I mean, when people talk about how much they like Drake London, it seems like the first thing they talk about is his height.
Yeah.
Not so much his speed, not so much his catching, not so much his route running ability, but people are infatuated with height. Well, Denzel Mims has height, so we can't fall in love too much with height. If that was the case, then Lawrence Cager would be a beast right now. He might be our sixth tight end in that formation, by the way. I'm looking forward to watching that.
Yeah, a 0-6 personnel. Oh my God. I'm telling you, I would cheer it. I would love it. There's no pretending. There's no shifty crap. We're just coming out with our 6 tight ends and we're going to beat the living shit out of you for the whole entire game. That would be fantastic. So now, as far as the combine, Y2K, what are you seeing? Anything standing out to you that maybe we didn't mention or talk about yet?
I don't make too big a deal out of the measurables. The combine has never been a huge deal for me because people can fall in love with these athletic freaks, but then when it comes time to play football, at the end of the day, they kind of wash out. We've had enough first-round busts who were quote-unquote great athletes, but at the end of the day, they weren't great football players. So I'm not going to get too hung up on a guy's vertical or on his 40 or how many times he can bench press. That's not a huge deal. I mean, the interviews can be somewhat more interesting. A lot of times it can be pretty canned answers with, well, I'm just glad to be here. I'm just looking forward to being drafted. I'd like to thank my family for being here. I'm just going to trust the process. And,
I will say about that. Let me interject.
Totally.
Sorry, Y2K. There was in the interview process the Treylon Burks. So people already love Treylon Burks, but his backstory, when the teams were asking him about his backstory and how he grew up and everything, they said there was not a dry eye in the house.
Why?
So because he's overcome. He was raised by his great grandparents, and I guess he overcame incredible. I don't know what the story is, but the teams were saying this kid is phenomenal as far as a human being is concerned. We love him to death. And
wait, who was this? Who we talking
Treylon
about?
Burks.
Treylon Burks, the wide receiver. So he's
Interesting.
got a very interesting backstory. Apparently, they say he's an old soul. So he's he's somewhat wise and so forth for his age. So that's an interesting kind of thing that comes out of those interviews where you get that kind of stuff.
Once in a while, it does happen. Yeah, I would pay more attention to the interviews for something that might come up as opposed to some of the physicals. It actually concerns me more when somebody backs out of them, like in the case of Derek Stingley. It worries me more and more. I feel like there was a little bit of a ground push for Derek Stingley lately. It's like if he drops, oh my gosh, what an opportunity it could be. And it's like, okay, sounds good. Yeah, he's his athletic ability is fantastic. But at the end of the day, the best ability you could have is reliability. And the guy just isn't reliable. So with all the injury backlash that we have dealt with and all the frustration we have dealt with injured players, you cannot guarantee health, but you can look at a player's past history and make an intelligent evaluation based off of that. So I look at a guy like Stingley, and even if he fell to the second round, I would still be nervous about drafting a guy like that.
Yeah, I would. For me, I would cross for the Jets. That's not something that's not a chance we can take. There's certain teams that could take a chance on Stingley. We are not one of them.
Right.
We cannot take that chance. We're not in that
I put that
position.
in my video today. It's like when people want to go out and give Scherf $16 million. The guy's never finished a season in his NFL career. If we bring him over here, he's going to play 6 games. Like that's all we're going to get for $16 million. Now, I want to get to Jeremy in a second too and see if anything is standing out to him. But Frankie, just on your point about the big sob story from Treylon Burks, which is wonderful. Don't forget, Lorenzo Malden. If you guys don't remember Lorenzo Malden, he was Mike McCagnon's first ever 3rd-round pick. That was how he addressed edge rusher. Lorenzo Malden's parents died, and he had to raise his siblings all by himself, and it was such a great story. And Lorenzo Malden sucked. I just want to remind everybody of that. Great guy.
Nice guy.
Him. He actually did okay up in Canada. I think he kind of had a little bit of a career up there. But that doesn't always mean anything. Like Y2K said, sometimes this stuff can be a little bit overemphasized.
Anybody remember Derek Strait? You You remember that? He was drafted after, I think, Cotchery, in that whole draft, the Cotchery draft. But he was homeless for a little bit of time in his life. So that seemed like a great story. And we thought, wow, this guy was homeless at one time. Man, he's going to have some desire. This guy's going to be gritty. He's going to be tough. He was good in my Madden game. That's about the best thing I could say about him.
Yeah, all that means is he had high expectations that he didn't achieve. If somebody's great in Madden, and that is all that means. They really had some expectations for this guy. So, Jeremy, I'm going to get to this super chat, and then I want to get your opinion on what's standing out at the combine for you. But Thomas Cahill checks in. Thank you for the super chat, Thomas. He says, GreenBean, looking at the fall of the draft, it seems we need to trade up into the third. What say you? I'm not sure what the fall of the draft means. You mean like guys sliding, guys falling a little bit? Trading back up into the third? I wouldn't be against trading back up into the third. Obviously, at that point, it depends on who slid. But look, man, where we are in the second is prime real estate for getting those guys that were considered firsts, the guys that, for whatever reason, just didn't get picked, and they bounced their way back into the second, and you can get first-round talent at 35 and 38. Now, the same thing applies with 69. Don't forget that it's going to be a pick 65, I think it is the first pick of the third. So we have the fourth pick in the third round, just like the fourth pick in the first. So again, the guys who were considered second-round picks, they just slid, and they're going to be there in the third. So we can already get quite a few premium players, 2 firsts, those 2 seconds that you can get 2 more first-round picks, and that third where you can get another second-round pick. So we're really sitting pretty. Now, if somebody else slides, we happen to have 2 4s and 2 5s. So I would not be against Joe Douglas packaging, maybe throw on the late 5th with our first 4th to get to the back end of the third. I wouldn't be against it, man. But it would have to be, you got to see who's there and everything. But yeah, man, I think it's very possible. And then we have some players that we might want to throw in and stuff like that. We have some guys, maybe they keep a Greg Van Roten around for a little bit until the draft and just say, hey, I'll throw this guy in a 4th. Give me your 3rd kind of a thing. Who knows? So yeah, I think it's interesting. You guys had Jeremy. You have any thoughts on that one? You think trading back up into the 3rd would be a good idea?
I wouldn't want to give away too much capital to do it. I mean, it just depends. I mean, it depends on what happens and who we get with our second rounders, right? And JD sometimes has guys on his board that he'll feel confident will get to the 4th round. I mean, don't forget Michael Carter fell to the 4th round, and JD was in love with him, right? I mean, it turns out that it wasn't like we took him because we had no choice. They couldn't believe he slipped that far, and they were thrilled, and they were, so. Right. We don't know that we're not going to get a guy that we love in the 4th round. I think it's going to be how JD reads the board, but we know now from last year that he's willing to be aggressive and do what he needs to do to get the player he feels he needs to get.
Yeah. So again, I think Thomas, I think it's definitely a good idea that, depending on the scenario that presents itself. The good news is we have the ability to do it. Having 2 4s and 2 5s, like Frankie said before, not having a 6th and a 7th kind of bothers me. That's a long time to wait for your undrafted free agent crop. But yeah, I think it's possible to trade back up. And if we do, it'll mean somebody like a Michael Carter, somebody that they fell in love with, is slipping, which would be fantastic. Now, Jeremy, talking about the combine. Well, Hawk wants to trade the 4th overall for Scherf. I think that's smart. That would be good. But Jeremy, what do you think about the combine? Anybody standing out? Did you see Kyle Phillips? I heard Kyle Phillips was turning it on. What's going on in the combine that's sticking out to you?
Well, I mean, I wanted to say that the thing that stuck out that was the most disappointing, I was actually watching Richie when it was happening, is McBride may have played himself off our roster because he may have played himself into the 1st round. And some people thought I was exaggerating that. And, Frankie mentioned a team, Tampa, and I combined that, Tampa with Miami. And those 2 teams really scare me where they are in this draft as far as Zion Johnson and McBride. Like, I'm really worried about those 2 teams. Tampa's not only losing offensive linemen, but they're, Gronk is probably gone, I think, and he's a free agent, and OJ Howard's a free agent. So I think that Tampa is a threat, although, so it's Tampa and Miami. One grabs Zion Johnson, the other is going to might say there's no value here at offensive line and go tight end. So that's what's jumping out to me is we might lose some guys that we've been really excited and, counting on getting. And then, we'll see about, Kyle Phillips to me is not in the category of the other wide receivers. I mean, I love him and I want him, but it's like apples to oranges. I was saying that in the chat to somebody. To me, he's like, if we don't re-sign Braxton Berrios or we want another Braxton Berrios type of guy on the team, I see him more of like a special team / slot kind of guy who can come in and gadget plays and all that cool stuff. But, I think when we talk about the first 2 rounds in wide receiver, we're thinking more big target, possibly a true number 1, WR1 stud. Like, I look at like a guy like Christian Watson, and what I'm hoping for and Treylon Burks is I'm going back to Al Toon days or Keyshawn Johnson. I want a big, freakish wide receiver. So I put them in a little bit different categories. I'm just looking for Phillips to make a good showing, run good route running. And I think the only way we're going to end up with a guy like that is if we don't go wide receiver in the earlier rounds or if we end up trading or making some trades where we pick up some 5th round picks or something like that.
Yeah. So you're right. Kyle Phillips is clearly not in the conversation, for 1st or 2nd round pick. But at some point, the 4th and 5th round do come up. They happen every year. You get through all the stuff, and here comes the 4th and 5th round. And if you didn't address wide receiver, maybe, you didn't use a 1st, you didn't use a 2nd, and you still want to bring one in, maybe you brought in a free agent, and Kyle Phillips is sitting there with your 5th round pick, just like with Bryce Hall. When he slid to the 5th, they literally couldn't ignore it. They're like, this guy, like, you have to take him. I think Kyle Phillips could be in that vein. If he's there in the 5th, maybe you like him a whole bunch and you can take him in the 4th. But if he's sitting there in the 5th, I think he's one of those guys that you really have to consider because he's one of those outwork you type of guys. And I love him. So, Frankie, anything going on in the combine now that, there's all kinds of stuff going on. What's sticking out with this second half? Have you caught up with anything? Have you seen anything?
Well, actually, something that catching my attention by its absence is this Kade Otten. And I wonder, GreenBean, if you think Kade Otten is tight end 2, because if what Jeremy's saying is true and he's going to go in the 1st round and he's not going to get past the Buccaneers and the Dolphins and all these teams for McBride, that is, would we be happy with Kade Otten at 35, in your opinion? Have you done homework on him? He's been hard to do homework, I think, because of his injury.
Yeah, I read a whole bunch of stuff on Kade Otten. Now, just like you said, it's difficult, and I don't think he's in the conversations because of that reason. Kade Otten is actually a very similar player to Trey McBride. I don't know if he's tight end 2 for me, but if he was, let's say you don't get Trey McBride because, like Jeremy said, he ends up playing himself into the 1st. And he's taken, and then, you're not going to take Likely, you're not going to take Wiedermeyer, and then Ruckert is taken, and then you're sitting there in the 3rd, and you really want a tight end, and Kade Otten is there, or maybe even 38. I think you can consider him. I like him. I like the player. I would rather wait around and grab maybe a Jelani Woods, quite frankly, but yeah, I like Kade Otten. I don't know. Is anybody talking about him as tight end 2 right now? What do you is like anybody on the panel hearing that about him?
Yeah, well, the one of the rating systems, so Zerline, I think Lance Zerline of NFL.com had Kade Otten as tight end 1 above McBride, barely.
Oh, wow.
He did. I swear.
No, I'm not. Yeah.
So at least some professional has him that high. So that some professional talent evaluator does have him that high. I don't know. I can't tell. But if they're similar, if they're close like that, if that's true, that Otten and McBride are similar in style and they're close in quality, then I don't worry as much about McBride going in the 1st round because I can probably get Otten in with 35. Yeah. But if they're not close, then I am worried.
His tape is great.
I'm just looking them up right now to see some of this stuff. Trey McBride is 6'3", Kade Otten is 6'5", Trey McBride is 260. Kade Otten is 249, so 250. So they're very close. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Trey McBride, like, look, he's the name that we're all talking about, and I would love to get him, but I don't think it's a Kyle Phillips and Pat Fryermuth situation where the next batch is a clear, it's jumping off a cliff to the next batch of guys, to the Trey McKittys and all that. Even though I like Trey McKitty, I like him a lot, like all that sort of stuff and those types of players. I don't think the drop off is quite as significant. I think this tight end class is actually tight as a pack. Like, there's a lot of guys that if you don't get this one and you get that one, you're going to be very, very happy with Kade Otten. If you guys haven't checked out Kade Otten, you should. I did. I was looking at him not a week ago, so.
So Robert Killian in the chat has a great comment, and Robert Killian often has very good comments, I've noticed. And he says McBride, Otten, and Ruckert all fit what we want. So if this is true and there's a group of three and we're happy with any three of them, then I don't worry about what Jeremy's talking about, because I'm going to get one of those guys with 35. So that's the kind of thing where grouping people in with a ranking system really helps you, because then okay, we don't have to trade. We don't have to do anything crazy. We don't have to trade into the first round. We don't have to, Yeah,
so I was just saying that to Braden. Braden was asking, "Would you do this? Would you do this?" And I said, "Yeah, I would be happy with that." But then said, if JD has confidence in any of these other tight ends, then you don't do it, right? You just go for Ruckert. You take one of these other guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, then just like Frankie said, that's such a great point. Like, we know about their tiers, right? Like, so they have players, rated as a first round pick. They have a numerical system, most teams, maybe from 10 to 0. And they start to put guys, these numbers associated with guys, and then they group them. So that's how you take away the panic. You take away the madness when there's a guy you like and somebody else, it's getting down to the wire. You're 3 picks away, and now you're inspired to trade up for him because you don't want to lose the one guy. When you've taken it and you've given them your numerical rating system, and then you group all the guys together that have the same number, and then you start going with positional value and where you place everything, then like all that work is done before you even enter the war room. So it's all on the board and you can just watch it. And if you have like Killian was saying, if you have Trey McBride, Kade Otten, Ruckert, Charlie Kohler, if you have them in the same group, just like Frankie said, you're no longer tempted to give away your fourth to trade up for a little bit, because there are 5 picks left and there are 4 guys. Like, we're going to get one of them. 99% chance we're going to get one of them. And that's what smart teams do, as opposed to Mike McCagnon, who was 1 pick away from Chuma Edoga, got himself into a panic for no reason and traded a 7th round pick to move up 1 pick to grab Chuma Edoga for no reason. Now, if he would have had these guys in tiers and did what we're talking about, he would have been like, he's there, and if not, I'll grab this guy. But Mike McCagnon didn't do that. He was an idiot. And so we've seen what it looks like on that end, guys, and now we're going to see what it looks like on the other end. And that's how you get guys like Elijah Moore and Michael Carter II and those types of guys, because you don't have to panic. You have your groups, and it's the smartest way to do it. That's why you don't want to see drafting for need. Like, you don't want that panic, man. So, Y2K, did you get a trivia question for us tonight?
I do have a trivia question, but we do have, before we do that, I think we should address the super chat that just came through,
Well, thank you. Let's see. Taps Any Button. Thank you, Taps Any Button. He says, Xander Horvath can be our Kyle Juszczyk. Go Jets. I'm going to be real honest. I haven't even looked at Xander Horvath. Let's see where he is. Xander out of Purdue, 6'2", 230, Frankie. What do you think of Xander Horvath? Is there anybody on this panel that has done their intel on Xander Horvath? Anybody?
No, because
we both did.
Did you? All right, so what do you guys think about him? I haven't looked.
Thanks for tuning in, GreenBean.
What's that? Oh,
we
you
actually
suck.
broke him down on
Watch it.
Rusty's Diamonds. We've actually looked at some clips of Xander.
You want me to
Horvath.
watch every single show? I can't watch every show. You know. Jesus.
I mean, he's rated as the fourth best fullback by Draft Tech.
Yeah, I'm seeing Jeremiah Hall, Clint Radovich, Connor Hayward, Xander Horvath. So yeah, I have him as fourth as well on what I'm looking at. So Jeremy, what do you think of Xander? You guys did some intel. We'll get yours and Wat2K's opinion for Taps Any Button.
Well, he, I mean, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong. I remember being surprised by the amount of like the highlights as far as the tape we were able to see. It was a lot of running. Like it was a lot of running plays, and I'm really not as interested in that, to be honest. I mean, fine if we were looking for a running fullback, but I can't give too strong of an opinion until I see how he blocks, because I think in our scheme, the point of the fullback in almost any scheme is to block. And I just, we need to watch raw tape of him in a game, because the highlights tend to focus on running plays with him, at least from what I was able to tell. So I liked what I saw, but is he going to be able to block is the question, and that wasn't answered for me.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of a little bit bigger version of like Danny Woodhead, that kind of a guy. Not so much great blocking ability, because that wasn't what was featured on that particular group of clips. But you could tell he seemed pretty shifty. He had some good agility. But I don't know if I quite saw fullback in this particular player. I know not everybody loves him, but Mel Kiper, I don't even think he rated him as a fullback. He didn't even put him in his top 10 fullbacks. I think he looks at Horvath a little bit differently. So maybe he's more of that H-back. He's more of that in-between kind of guy.
Interesting.
There's a guy on this list who's 5'11", 270.
No.
Yeah. Houston Haimuli out of Stanford. 5'11", 270. There's a dude you might want to take.
Dude,
next mock draft. We need him. We have to get him.
Short goal line situations. He's going to punch it in for you, baby.
I'm going to look him up right now. So, Frankie, what do you think about us drafting a fullback? Are you into that?
Well, I think we can cheaply sign Nick Bodden. I mean, for our purposes, for about $1 million. So that's the way I would go. I mean, just bring back Bodden. He looked good last year. He did everything we asked him to do for a cheap contract. You just don't. I wouldn't spend a draft pick. Now, if you want to bring a guy like this in as a UDFA, okay, great. I'd love to do that. Bring in Houston Haimuli as a UDFA just because he's 5'11", 270. But if there's not a lot of teams not every team uses a fullback. So these fullbacks, if he's the fourth best one, he might not get drafted. You maybe bring him in as a UDFA. That'd be good. But I wouldn't spend a draft pick on him. I'd rather give Nick Bodden $1 million.
Yeah, I was kind of leaning towards Patrick Ricard for a while, the fullback from Baltimore, who's excellent. He's a free agent this season, but at the end of the day, it's probably going to take $3-4 million to get him.
Yep.
And as Frankie so often reminds us, we only have so much money to spend because we have a draft class to sign and we have cuts to make and all these other wonderful activities that have to happen. So, yeah, the more I saw Nick Bodden, the more I liked him. I mean, he had a big block on that Braxton Berrios return touchdown. Go back and watch it again. He really had an impact on that. But another fullback to watch out for is Jeremiah Hall from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So he's kind of used as that H-back in the Lincoln Riley offense. So he's somewhere between that tight end and fullback. He's had over 420 yards in his career and 8 touchdowns.
It's
and from what I hear,
interesting.
he can block pretty well too. So if you're looking at a fullback, watch for Jeremiah Hall. Let's see where he goes to.
Now he's an interesting guy because he's sort of like an upgraded version of Hayward, because Jeremiah Hall is 6'1.5" almost. He ran a 4.79 tonight at the combine, unofficial numbers. So if he's a tweener, so I was looking at him and going, he's a little small to be a tight end. Why is he running with the tight ends? But if he's a combo guy, that makes a lot more sense. And he's number 1 on Draft Tech's fullback list. So maybe he's a good option for a Trevon Wesco kind of replacement dude.
Yeah, I'm trying to find something on this Houston Haimuli guy. I am fascinated with this guy's measurables.
Just by the name?
No, 5'11", 270. This is crazy. He's heavy. He's
never
40
heard
pounds
of such
heavier than. That's what
All right. Here's
today's trivia
here's
question. How do you spell his name? I think that would be good enough.
Heimuli.
Oh, is that?
Here's
Oh,
a
I know.
video
Okay.
from Houston High Mully's Twitter. Hold on. This is what we got. You ready?
What the hell?
That's Houston High Mully. That's what we got.
I don't think that was football. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, he's just
What
showing
kind
you
of
how
contract
tough
would
he is.
that one take?
He's showing you how tough he is. He's like, look at me. I'll kill any bull. So that's fascinating. Yeah, I gotta say, Taps Any Button, I don't think we're going to use a draft pick on a fullback, but when we get to the undrafted free agents, I would absolutely love to see them bring in one of the fullbacks to compete with Bawden. Like Frankie said, you're probably going to get Bawden for anywhere from $750 to $1 million. And look, second to last game of the year, Bawden got in that big fight on the field, so that's enough for me to consider him. He wasn't taking any shit. And I like that. So you want your fullback to be tough, like a hockey player. You know what I mean? Like anybody gives him you rough them up. That's what I want my fullbacks to do. Very similar to my tight ends. I like tough guys. So Bawden could at least get a look. And if you bring in a little bit of competition, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But hey, people are comparing him to Allstat in the chat. So, hey, ain't nothing wrong with a Mike Allstott. I'll tell you that, man. I loved him. I thought he was a great player. A lot of fun. Then they put him on the Madden cover, and that was the end of him. Or no, that wasn't Allstott. That was who was that running back on the Cleveland Browns? Remember his name?
Oh, Peyton Hillis.
Remember that? They put him on the cover of Madden, and his career was over.
That was
it.
it.
It was done. So, all right. So what else we got here? Anything else? Like, look, we're talking combine. We're talking about maybe a little bit of the draft. Anything popping out to us today that we want to just kind of wrap up with? I saw somebody say Traylon Burks looks like he lost a lot of money today. He ran a slow 40, I think is what it was comes down to. I didn't get a chance to see it yet. But Frankie, anything popping out that you want to mention before we wrap it up?
Well, a guy who's interesting is Kade Otten out of Notre Dame. So this is a guy, they said, this guy should probably go back to school. We're not sure what he's doing going into the draft. And today he ran a 4.37. So for a 6'2 guy running a 4.3, that's going to probably help his stock. I was thinking maybe we could pick him up as a UDFA, but after this performance at the Combine, I doubt it. He's going to get drafted.
Think he'll get drafted.
Yeah, I mean, if you're 6'2 and running a 4.3, somebody's going to take you in the 6th, 7th round. They're not going to let you slip, I don't think.
No, who was that? Did you say? Kade Otten.
Kade Otten. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hey, man, that's the thing. That's where some of this stuff has really profound impact. Like, look, Traylon Burks, he was on many people's boards, wide receiver 1, and then he goes out there and runs what, a 4.6? A lot of people
4.5.
4.5. So some people are gonna drop him a peg. So who knows? And the same thing happens for guys that perform well in the combine. You know, remember DK Metcalf? He ran like a super fast 40 time, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, he's going to be a first round." Then he chose to run the 3-cone drill, stumbled and bumbled through the 3-cone drill, and he dropped all the way to the bottom of the 2nd round because of a friggin' 3-cone drill. They labeled him a one-trick pony. He's a 9 route, and that's all he'll ever be because of a 3-cone. So it's tough. It does have impact, man. It's really crazy. Jeremy, you got anything else you want to, before we wrap it up, anybody sticking out to you that you want to talk about, or before we leave or whatever? Then we're going to give away your Darth Vader.
Well, I think I would love Burks to drop down to like 35, 38. I'd be perfectly happy with that. Like people are saying, sometimes you play fast, sometimes, or you just sprint fast. But, people are talking about a 4.5 like it's the slowest thing in the world. If it's a 4.4, you're fine. But you got to look at his size and his strength and all that stuff too, and his route running and all that good stuff. But also, I think to me, and this started on the Patreon, that's why you should join GreenBean's Patreon, because you get to hang out and get some great extra expertise. Drake London fell for me. A couple of things that Dom C actually, some information he gave, in my mind, made Drake fall down a little bit. And I think I don't think that's getting any better. It's not getting any better for him as we move forward in this offseason. So I don't even see him as a guy I want with a second round pick. So.
Yeah, well, hey, thank you for mentioning that. He's right. We have a lot of fun on my Patreon, man. We just did the positional breakdowns last night with Dom C and a bunch of the guys. We got into the wide receivers, and it was a blast. We ended up staying like a half hour late because we just weren't done talking, which is super cool. And the information to my Patreon is in the top of the description, and I appreciate it. Any support helps me stay on the road, guys. I'm running out of money. So I could use any support that you guys feel like sending my way. I appreciate. You want to send bananas? I'll take bananas. Whatever you got. You want to send me a loaf of bread? I'll take a loaf of bread. Who can't use a loaf of bread? Everybody likes a good sandwich. But so did I just hear that Burks he had a 33-inch vertical? Is that accurate? Did anybody hear that? I just saw it in the chat. Did they do verticals today?
I'm
Anybody?
looking it up. I'm looking.
I'm looking too.
Started looking for Easy E.
Yeah, 33-inch vertical. Yep, that's what I'm seeing.
Dude, that's not good.
No.
That's not good. Running a 4.5 and a 33-inch vertical, I think Jeremy's dream has a little bit more potential than it did at the start of today, that he might slip. I don't think he's going to make it to the second, but I don't think he's going to be the first wide receiver off the board, man. This stuff has an impact. It starts showing limitations in his athleticism, which, like Frankie said before, it's not that, this takes away what you've accomplished on the field, but going against other guys, your peers with the exact same drill, and you perform poorly throughout all of them, it has an impact, man. So, Y2K, anything else standing out to you that you want to make sure we discuss?
I'm just looking forward to free agency starting in less than 2 weeks. It still feels so far away, but before we know it, it's going to be here, and this roster is going to start to take shape. Want to go ahead and do some trivia right now? We can go ahead and do that if you want.
Well, I wanted to know about your play. Anything else? You just want to talk? You said free agency. You're just excited, huh?
I don't know. It's like I'm just ready for. Honestly, I'm ready for the combine. More talk, more speculation. I'm just ready to get past it. I'm ready to start building this roster up. I'm over it already.
Oh man, we got to.
That's how I really feel.
Hey, Jeremy, you got to keep Y2K away from your mocks, buddy. You got to make sure he's done. He's souring early this year.
Enough of the combine. I don't want to hear about this measurable, this 40 time.
Oh, I love it. I'm just warming up, Y2K. I have a whole bunch of stuff that I have all kinds of topics on deck that I haven't even pulled out yet for this period of time between now and free agency. But you are right. Free agency is less than 2 weeks away, and that is going to be exciting. Don't forget, we have the 2-day tampering window where I heard we're going to offer Anthony Barr a massive contract, and then tell him right before it's time to sign that we are sorry, we can't do it. We're going to stick back in his ass. Like he did to us. But yeah, Y2K, let's get into some trivia, everybody. Now, the rules are this. Y2K is going to ask us a question, and we're going to give you guys in the chat a little bit of time to answer. Here's what I ask of you. Don't Google it. Try to answer. Let's take some shots at this. Let's see if we can answer it on our Jetsfan knowledge, and then Jeremy and Frankie and I will take a crack at it as well. So, Y2K, what do you got for us tonight, buddy?
Okay, your question tonight, it goes like this. How many, and I'm going to put a little, I'm going to explain the question a little bit after I'm done. How many franchises, NFL franchises, do the Jets have a better than 500 winning percentage lifetime record against? So, against how many franchises do the Jets have a winning record? You already
0.
Just to be clear on a couple of things, like the Houston Oilers, Tennessee Titans, that is one franchise. The Baltimore Ravens are their own franchise. The Cleveland Browns are a separate one. Just to be clear on that. So, how many franchises do they have a winning lifetime record against, and can you name the franchises?
All right, guys. So
we'll have random numbers.
Who would know this?
I got to see some.
Is there somebody sitting around keeping track of this? Somebody going, boy, oh boy, I hope we win today because that'll put us right over the 500 mark against the Eagles. Who?
Yeah, dude, you know it is. You know we're doing that, and Y2K is one of them. Listen,
you do your research, I do mine.
Well, we know
exactly
it. We know
right.
it's not. We know it's not the Eagles.
I was just going to
Nope.
say that, Jeremy. Yeah, that's exactly right. We know we heard it all damn week about before the Eagles game that we've never beaten them. So I'm sure there are people keeping tabs on the other side. I'm going to say 4 teams.
Okay.
I'm going to say the Miami Dolphins, which is wrong already. I'm going to say the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to say the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to say the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm going to, or maybe just Cardinals. Okay, maybe when
Yeah. We know.
and
I know
I'm
what you mean.
going. And there was another team that we played this year that we have a Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's what I'm going to say. You don't have to tell me if I'm right yet, but let's see what the hey, take off Dolphins and put Lions. That's what I want.
It's just easy to guess names. Yeah, it's very easy to guess team names. I get that. So people are just going to keep throwing. By the way, to the one guy, who mentioned the Chicago Bears, I could tell you this. As a guy who lived in Chicago from 1997 to 2017, we haven't beaten the freaking Bears since 2000. Ray Lucas was quarterback back then, I think.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we suck against the Bears. It ain't them.
All right. So Dark Soldier checks in. He says the Lions, Jags, Browns, and Colts. Nathan Colgrove says Browns, Washington, Lions, and Jaguars.
Oh boy, guys, I expected better from you than those guesses. Woo!
Really? I thought they were good.
I will say that GreenBean, you got 2 teams correct. I'm not going to say what the total number is, but you got 2 teams correct.
Damn right, Jeremy. I'm 50%, buddy. 2 out of 4.
So yeah, I'm going to keep watching. You guys let me know about some of the guesses, and we'll go from there.
All right. So Fat Gandalf checks in. Which, hey, Fat Gandalf, while I was sick this week in bed, I watched Lord of the Rings, all 3 movies in their extended 4-hour version 4 times all the way through. I just sat in bed with Lord of the Rings on for a week. So I thought of you often, buddy. He says the Lions, the Jags, the Texans, and the Browns.
Okay, I will say one of those answers is correct.
All right. So which one did I said Detroit. So I think that's it, Fat Gandalf. Pure Adrenaline.
I will tell you now, Detroit is not a correct answer. The Jets are 7-7, 500 even against the Lions. So that is not correct. But they're right there.
This is crazy.
You're so close.
Postman, John Post.
I have so much fun with this.
Pure Adrenaline Fantasy Sports.
Pure Adrenaline. Okay, Pure Adrenaline. That's a good job. I will tell you right now. 1, 2. Those are 3 correct. I'm going to give you. Would you like me to give you the total number of teams just so we know?
Yeah, you can do that. Then I want to.
Okay, there are 6 franchises that are correct, and I can tell you these are 3 correct answers.
Wow.
Well done. All right. So I'm going to go through this. We got Green Bay. They are 8-5 against Green Bay, 16-10 against Cincinnati, 6-4 against Arizona. But there are 3 franchises, and I think did somebody already say Houston? I believe someone just said Houston.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to count the Texans as that 6-3. That's another one. And GreenBean, you said Tampa Bay. That is the team we have the best winning percentage against, 10-3. But there is one other franchise that I don't think I've seen yet. Now I'm sure it's in the chat.
Washington.
In fact, I know it's in the chat, but I haven't heard you guys mention it yet.
Washington.
Did Jeremy get it?
Washington? No. Washington? No.
That was a good swing, Jeremy. Frankie, take a shot, man. What do you got, Frankie?
Frankie, I know you can come up with a team name. I know you hate
the Philadelphia Stars from the old USFL, which, by the way, is coming back.
We have
the
only team we play more than that is the Providence Steamrollers.
I'm excited about the USFL. I am. I'm excited about it. Are the Generals in it? The Jersey Generals?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. A couple of guys got this. Iowa got it. New York Jets Tails got it. The Minnesota Vikings is the other team. We are 8-3 lifetime against Minnesota. Yep. But not only that, I mentioned we're 500 against Detroit. Do you know that we are 1 game under 500 against 4 franchises? Miami, Kansas City, Cleveland, and Jacksonville. 1 game under 500 against all 4 of those franchises.
You know what?
All of that changes starting next year. We're taking them all on, and we're winning.
Frankie, you know what I'm hearing Y2K say right now? the Jets are one of the better franchises in the NFL. That's what this is
Of
what,
all time.
Of all time. Yeah.
We're good against certain NFC teams. That's what I'm really saying.
We got it. We got the same amount of Super Bowls as the Chicago Bears. That's what I just heard.
Yeah. See, that's right. For all their ballyhoo, we're right with them. So Y2K, give us the full list because we've been a little bit sporadic. I think ultimately collected, like as a collective, we did a pretty good job tonight with the chat.
Yeah, you guys did well. So, yeah, in order of winning percentage, Tampa Bay, Minnesota, Houston Texans, Cincinnati, Green Bay, Arizona. They're 500 against Detroit. So that was the one that was really close.
That's right. You heard me, guys. I got most of them myself, all 2. 2 of the 6.
Yes, Rusty, you got 6. Good job.
Yeah, Rusty. Yeah, he got the number right. So see, we did okay. FOC said, only 6 teams said. Well, like he said, FOC, that we also have a 500 record. We have a 1 game under 500. So we're pretty damn good. That's what I hear. We're a pretty damn good franchise. So how'd we do, Y2K? Do you think we could say that we got it tonight?
You know what? The chat is always eventually. I'm confident the chat will always get it eventually, especially with a question like this where, you could just throw out team names. But I don't think you guys mentioned Minnesota, so I can't give you guys a pass on this one. I just can't do it.
You got a good point. Minnesota came way later, and a bunch of guys wrote it at the same time. It leads me to believe that.
Yeah, I count on the chat to do well. So
Iowa, I'm convinced you looked it up, buddy. I'm sorry, Reed. I really am. But hey, we got it's still a good job, Chad. I think we did pretty well. This is an admirable attempt. So thank you, Y2K. Another stumping from Y2K. This was a good one, man. I was really thinking here. You got me thinking. This was a good one. Thank you, Y2K, for beating the hell out of us every single week with his trivia. And now we're going to go ahead and switch gears to NFL Chaos with Jeremy. He is going to be giving something away. And I want to just let you guys know on Jeremy's channel, when he gets to a certain amount of subs, he is going to be giving more stuff away. Not all of it's going to be Darth Vader, and so it's all kinds of fun stuff. But Jeremy, how are we going to give this away? What do you want to do? You want to pick a number, or
well,
what do you
actually, I want to make sure everybody knows that they should subscribe to the channel, because this is just the beginning of giveaways, and the only way you're going to know about it is if you subscribe to the channel and you hit the notification bell. Anytime you see me live, there's going to be different reasons or occasions where I'll give something away. And that's how I'm going to give this away. I'm going to give this away by my next giveaway, or one of my next giveaways, because they can run simultaneously, is the first time my stream hits 50 viewers at the same time. So the first time I have 50 people streaming. And we came close a couple of weeks ago. We were up there for a while. But when we hit 50, I'm actually going to give away, and this is the answer to the trivia. It's the first person to guess what the next giveaway is. And I will say this is the clue. So listen carefully, because there's a lot in this clue, because a lot of you might jump to conclusions. The next giveaway is an action figure, another sci-fi action figure. Who is it?
Okay,
First
let me make sure we got it right. So Jeremy's saying he's going to give another action figure away in the future. We're trying to guess what that is. And he said it's a sci-fi action figure. He said there's a hidden something in there, right? Is that what you're implying?
Yes, and I can't believe what I see right now, because this guy wanted to win this so badly, and it was his first guess, Dark Soldier. And here's the evidence. This is the giveaway that I had waiting right here to show you. When I hit 50 in the stream, we're giving away this Commander Spock collector's action figure. Same thing from like 95, mid 90s. But Dark Soldier, you just won the Darth Vader. So look, I know that Dark Soldier is already a subscriber to my channel. I don't even have to check. So just everybody out there, make sure you go to NFL Chaos with Jeremy, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, because when I get to 50 subscribers, we are going to give this baby away right at that moment. You have to be there. It's going to happen live when we hit 50. And I'm about 12 away, maybe even closer, because I haven't looked just now, but I'm about 12 away from 300, where I'm giving away a Green Bean t-shirt, an NFL 24/7 t-shirt, and a Matt O'Leary Boycott the Beat t-shirt. So we're very close to having that happen when I hit 300. We only need about
11.
10 to 13 subscribers.
11 away.
11 away.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So Dark Soldier, what an amazing thing. I can't, I'm such a cynic and a skeptic. I can't help but think that Jeremy told you already. That was too quick. Quick.
No, I mean, it would have been, I thought that too. It's going to look crazy to people, but the reality is you got to think about it this way. I think we would have played it a little better than that.
Yeah.
Right.
I know, right? That's a good point. If it was fraudulent, you guys would have did at least a little bit better job covering it. So congratulations, Dark Soldier. That's amazing. The first guess was the correct guess, which is the exact opposite of what we've been doing with Y2K's trivia. Seems like our last guess might be closer to the winning guess. But congratulations, Dark Soldier. That's amazing. So reach out to Jeremy. You can. Do you want to give him your email, or how do you want him to do it?
Yeah, I don't know. Dark Soldier's on Twitter. It's at Jeremy Crevette 2. It's the one that says NFL Cast with Jeremy because I have a screwed up account. And then jcravat@gmail.com. He could do it that way too. Just jcravat@gmail.com.
There you go. So jcravat@gmail.com. Everybody send Jeremy messages now. Ask him what he's eating and all that kind of stuff. But congratulations again, Dark Soldier. That is super cool. He gave away a Darth Vader collector's action figure with a removable cape and lightsaber. So if it gets, I know you said it earlier, it stuck out to me. So we're going to wrap this one up, but I want to give the guys an opportunity to let you know what's going on. Frankie, what do you got cooking, buddy? Anything big coming up?
Yeah, we're taking a look at mock drafts and reacting to them. There's a lot of mock drafts out there, and we got to react to them, and we got to tell you what we think about these idiots named Mel Kiper and PFF and Thor Nydstrom. Who the hell are these people? What do they know about the Jets? Well, I'll tell you my opinions. So we got those coming out. We had one of those come out today. Got another one coming out tomorrow morning. So, and I think I'll probably do even another one on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I'm going to take all these combine numbers and guess what I'm going to do with them, Greenbean?
You're going to put them in a spreadsheet.
Put them in a spreadsheet.
Exactly. And I'm going to put them all in a spreadsheet, combine them and get my explosive score, get my production score, get my total scores. And then I'll have my entire system and we'll all be able to be general managers and we'll be able to take Joe Douglas's job from him. And that's what the plan is.
Hey, right. We'll be a GM by committee, just like the running back by committee. I think it's cutting edge, Frankie. So that is all to be found on Frankie from Flatbush YouTube channel. The link to Frankie's channel is below in the description. Go ahead and give Frankie a sub, and not even for charity, man. Frankie's got some of the best stuff out there. I mean that sincerely. I thoroughly enjoy Frankie's stuff. So you can find his information down below, or just go to YouTube search engine and type in Frankie from Flatbush. He's the only one on YouTube. So Jeremy, what do you got cooking? Anything? I mean, you just kind of told us, but anything else going on at your channel, or anything you want to let us know?
I'll be on tomorrow night with a mock draft with J. Cole, who's a very interesting character, who, by the way, asked me to ask Frankie. J. Cole wants to know if he can cook you a roast beef.
No, I don't accept food from strangers. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's a wise choice.
Right.
Old habits, old lessons die hard. Now, if you guys are trying to figure out how interesting or J. Cole is, or whether to listen to him, there's a comment that's on the screen right now. That's what he's bringing. That's what he's bringing he's bringing soup to the fire. So there you go, J. Cole and Jeremy. Hey, Jeremy, Y2K, what's cooking with the Virginia Jets fan club, or anything you got going on?
Well, I guess the biggest thing right now, just tune in Wednesday nights, 9:45 p.m. for the show that Jeremy and I are hosting now. You never know what's going to happen. It could go any direction. It's always fun. It's always crazy. It's always chaotic. The topics can go from the Jets to food to music. You never know, but it's always fun, and it is absolutely worth checking out. As far as the Virginia Jets fans go, we got the chili cook-off at the end of the month. Then we're going to host our draft party at AJ Gators, which I'm very excited for. And, working on setting up the off-season. Like I mentioned, we had our polar plunge, which involved a lot of fireball. And I had a great time, to the best that I can remember of that.
Yeah, there you go. Getting good and drunk and jumping in the water, or that's fun.
Wafers.
There you go. There you go. So, yep, and that can be found. The Virginia Jets fan club, like he says, meets at AJ Gators for every Jets game in Norfolk, Virginia. I've been there. Great group of people. Lots of awesome giveaways, like real giveaways, not bullshit. I was blown away by the quality of the gifts that you were giving away. I mean that sincerely. And he's not lying about their show. I was watching it last night. It took me a half hour or 2 days ago to fucking figure out what they were talking about. So you never know what's going to happen. And then Jeremy, 45 minutes later, commented on my question that I was like, all right, they're not with me. He's behind on the chat. So it's a good time. It's a great show. They have guests and all that. I thoroughly enjoy it. And I think you guys will too. And don't forget to support on the Patreon. The link is in the description. You get a whole bundle of additional exclusive content from one and only me, GreenBean. You can subscribe and help me stay on the road, and that would be greatly appreciated. And let's not forget to support our boy Jude Jets, who was our guest for the first hour of the show. His information is in the top of the description as well. You can follow him on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, and he's always active. He's a great follow, and you guys will enjoy it. And I want to thank the chat, man. Congratulations to Dark Soldier for winning the Darth Vader action figure from the Jeremy NFL Chaos with Jeremy giveaway. And you guys are the absolute best. I had a great time. I wish you guys would get a damn trivia question right, though, for us so I can feel better in Y2K's presence. But, hey, we're working on it. You guys are the best chat in the business. Have a great night, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, baby.
I want to kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah! You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets, Jets.